Chapter 33. Warrior Sage Jr. Phoenix Cup Challenge Tournament. All of a sudden, Lu Cheng was a little excited, a little scared, and a little eager to try. "Master, what kind of tournament is this?" He took a deep breath and asked. Geezershire waved his hand and said, "How would I know? I just asked someone for one. You can search for it on the internet. In today's society, you can find anything on the internet. TSK. As he spoke, he left the lake with his hands behind his back. What a carefree master. Lu Cheng complained silently. He flipped the invitation over and over again and found his name and invitation number in the corner. He couldn't wait to take out his phone and start searching on the spot. Phoenix Cup Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge Tournament. He typed in the name and soon got several pages of search results. The first one was an introduction to the official website, and the second one was a link to the Longhu Club forum he was familiar with. Lu Cheng hesitated and clicked on the second link. It was a post from yesterday from one of the forum members he was familiar with. Road to the Arena, who liked to show off and brag, posted a picture with a red gilded invitation card, exactly the same as the one in his hand, but the number and name were deliberately blurred out. Sigh, I realized that the martial arts soul in my heart hasn't been completely buried yet. After being sent this invitation, I actually feel restless and want to participate. Road to the Arena added a sentence to the picture with a deliberately vicissitude tone. Invincible Punch, a martial arts school student who was quite popular on the forum, replied, Phoenix Cup Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge Tournament. Master Road, what kind of tournament is this? Road to the Arena replied with a laughing emoji, a new tournament organized by the richest man in our province. It will be held in Yanling City and will take 5 years to make it into the top 10 challenge tournaments. This year is the first one, so there is no experience in all aspects. The prize money, scale, and level of fighters are set at a lower level, and there is no publicity. It's normal that you don't know about it. So it's a new challenge tournament for practice. Lu Cheng had a preliminary understanding of the tournament he was about to participate in. Master Road posted the invitation card, so he must be planning to participate. A female ID, Light Sea Blue, who was more active and popular in the forum, said with a dazed panda emoji. Road to the Arena replied with a funny emoji, I can't quit. But I've been out of practice for a long time, so I probably won't be able to enter the top 16. I'm ashamed to be a professional 9th pin fighter. Damn, what a coincidence. Just randomly participating in a challenge tournament and meeting an acquaintance. Lu Cheng didn't reply and just watched quietly. With his amateur level, it was better not to expose himself, lest he become a laughing stock. He just silently watched the former professional 9th pin act tough. What's so special about the final 16? Behind the message, Road to the Arena, the little girl, Wonton Seller, sent a head-scratching emoji. Road to the Arena, explained, this Warrior Sage Challenge tournament doesn't limit the level of fighters and the number of applicants, so it's based on the level of the prize money. Those who enter the top 16 will get 5,000 yuan. Those who enter the top 8 will get another 10,000 yuan. If they win and enter the top 4, they will get another 20,000 yuan. If they enter the final round, they will get another 40,000 yuan. If they become the champion, they will get another 80,000 yuan. In other words, the champion will get a total of 155,000 yuan, and the runner-up will get 75,000 yuan. For amateurs, it's quite generous. But for professional fighters, it's probably not that far away. Some 9th pin fighters who happen to be free will participate in the tournament, and 1 or 2 8th pin fighters who are in need of money will join in the fun. So the level of the tournament is set. As for the scale of the tournament, only the top 16 will get the prize money. Amateurs won't come all the way here. Only those in the city will sign up with the mentality of giving it a try. Reading these 2 paragraphs, Lu Cheng almost took a deep breath. This was a much higher level competition than he had expected. He thought it was a tournament for amateurs. Who knew that there would be so many professional 9th pin fighters, and even 8th pin fighters? And 8th pin fighters meant that there was a 90% chance that they would be masters of Danchi State. As for amateur 1st, 2nd, and 3rd pin fighters, there must be more than enough. Is Master deliberately letting me have a good look? Or is it like what he said? He doesn't even know what this invitation is? Lu Cheng was deep in thought. Fortunately, he didn't have much expectation. He had only been practicing martial arts for 3 months, so he didn't have much expectation. At most, he felt that he should be stronger than an amateur 8th pin or 9th pin fighter. If he kept improving, he could finish his apprenticeship in less than a year. Forget it. Anyway, I'm going to accumulate actual combat experience. I hope to fight a few more rounds. Maybe I'll be so lucky that I can make it all the way to the top 16. Lu Qing thought optimistically. He moved his eyes down and continued to read the post, road to the arena. Pretty high level. I thought you could make it to the top 4 in the little arena. Wonton Seller liked to add the word little in front of everyone's name, regardless of their actual age. She wanted to pull them to her level. Road to the arena sent a smoking emoji. I can't. A few years ago, I was confident that I could make it to the top 4. Now, I'm lucky enough to make it to the top 16. I don't expect to make it to the top 8. When my master who taught me martial arts gave me the invitation, he felt it was a pity that I didn't make it. No matter what, Master Road, you're still the #1 master in our forum. Beautiful World comforted him. Pig Riding Knight, the moderator of the forum, also said, remember to live stream and show us your style. Okay. Try not to lose face for our forum. Road to the arena sent an emoji of pushing up glasses with sharp eyes. Invincible Punch, a student of martial arts school, said, Master Road, I'm quite close to Yenling. When will the tournament start? I want to give it a try during the holidays. At least I can gain some actual combat experience. Sure, we can meet face to face. 3 to 5 bottles. Road to the arena replied, but you have to hurry up. Registration ends at 8:00 p.m. tonight. The tournament will start at 9:00 a.m. the day after tomorrow. There will be 4 to 5 rounds of elimination. Then there will be 8 groups of 4. The top 2 of each group will enter the top 16. Okay. I'll go buy a ticket after registration. The train will arrive in an hour. Invincible Punch replied. He failed in the October ranking event and failed to advance to professional 9th pin. He desperately needed more actual combat experience. Above the sky, the girl also cheered, you have to remember to live stream. Dragon King and others are away for the new year. It's so boring. Lu Cheng was amused by their interaction. Well, I can't believe I met 2 netizens in a regional competition. What the hell is this? He thought. But with so many fighters signing up, it's impossible to meet them. After understanding the general situation of the Phoenix Cup Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge Tournament, Lu Cheng exited the post and went to the official website to confirm all the details. The tournament would start tomorrow. The post was made yesterday. It would last for 10 days. If he made it all the way to the end, on average, there would be 1 tournament per day. Any fighter who wanted to get the prize money would try to win as soon as possible in the initial elimination and group matches to save energy and avoid injury. Travel expenses, accommodation expenses, food expenses. Lu Cheng silently calculated the expenses. Damn it, I'm going to have to empty my pockets. That was reserved for when he asked Yen Jika out. Apart from the New Year's money, the only cash he could use now was the 500 renminbi, home fare, and the 500 renminbi, food, he saved before. But there were too many things to spend money on, the train to Yenling, the train from Yenling to home, 10 days. I'm sure I won't make it to the finals. Top 16 is out of the question. Maybe I'll be lucky in the group matches? That means I'll have to stay in the hotel for 7 days and eat every day. I can't even afford to stay in a small hotel. After thinking for a while, Lu Cheng called home and told his mother that he had something to do at school and would be back in 7 or 8 days. Fortunately, he had told his mother that he had to wait for Yenjika before. After winning the extra 500 renminbi, he felt a little relieved and bought the tickets with the money he had already saved in the payment app on his mobile phone. Because it wasn't the Spring Festival yet, the tickets to Yenling were easy to buy. To save money, he bought a ticket past 9 p.m. and arrived at Yenling after 12 a.m. He was lucky enough to have a few tickets to go home from Yenling, so he didn't have to fight for them on the app. It's already very late today. I'll stay in a hotel near the bus station and go to the competition venue with my luggage the next day. If I lose, I'll go back to the bus station and see if I can change my ticket. If I win, I'll find another small hotel nearby. Lu Cheng made a plan. If he could book the tickets online, he would book them first so that he wouldn't be stunned when they were all full. After doing all this, Lu Cheng logged into QQ and wanted to share his plan with Yenjika. When he was about to send the message, he suddenly stopped and muttered in his heart. It doesn't seem right to tell Yenjika about the challenge tournament first. If I'm eliminated in the first round and she asks about it, how embarrassing would that be? I'd better tell her after the result is good and share it with her. But if I share it with her later, will she think that I'm a person who likes to hide things? How could I pretend that nothing happened and not mention it at all? After thinking about it, Lu Cheng decided to be honest and sent a laughing emoji. Since you're not going back to Shushan, I found a challenge tournament to increase my actual combat experience. At 9:00 in the morning, Yenjika replied with an envious emoji with shining eyes. What challenge tournament? Phoenix Cup Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge Tournament in Yenling City. Geezer sure mentioned it casually, so I thought that since I have nothing to do, I might as well sign up for it. The tournament starts tomorrow and my train tonight. Lu Cheng gave a brief introduction of the challenge tournament. My flight is tomorrow morning, so I can't make it. You have to do your best and don't disgrace our Songqing University Martial Arts Club. I'll be watching you. Yenjika sent an emoji with bright eyes. They chatted until 5 p.m. Lu Cheng quickly put his change of clothes, several sets of training clothes, other sundries, and his laptop into his big backpack. Most of the rest were locked in the cupboard, so he didn't have to worry about not having enough clothes to wear at home. Carrying the big backpack, he felt much lighter than before. He first said goodbye to Zhao Chang and the others, and then knocked on the door of the small dormitory next door. Talker, my train is tonight. What about you? He asked Kai Zongming. Kai Zongming smiled and said, I don't know yet. My girlfriend will go to Songqing first and play for a few days before going back. Looking at his smile of a winner in life, Lu Cheng clenched his fist and punched him on the shoulder. See you next year. See you next year. Kai Zongming waved his hand. Without the melancholy of parting, Lu Cheng hurried to the school bus station. There were already many people waiting there, and it took him more than half an hour to get his turn. After putting down his luggage and sitting in his seat, the campus scenery passed by quickly. Weishui Lake was covered with a thin layer of ice, the teaching building shrouded in the dreary dusk, and the commercial street with few pedestrians passed by quickly in Lu Cheng's eyes. At this time, he felt a little emotional that he was going to leave this place for a month. In the train, Yenjika went to bed at 11 p.m. because she had to get up early tomorrow to fly to Jiangnan province. Lu Cheng took a nap and woke up abruptly, only to find that they would arrive at Yenling in 10 minutes. Outside the window, the night was dark, and the strange lights were faintly receding. Lu Cheng stared at the scene in a daze, with some melancholy and fear rising in his heart. He was going to a completely strange city. The scenery he was going to see was completely strange. In a strange city, he didn't really know anyone, and he couldn't feel the familiar warmth in the strange scenery. The train stopped, and he followed the crowd out of the station. A cold wind blew, clear and cold. Lu Cheng shivered and declined the offers of black buses and small hotels. Carrying a big backpack, he looked at the GPS on his mobile phone and walked on a wide road to a nearby hotel. The road was quiet, and there were few people in sight. There were trees on both sides of the road, like monsters with their mouths wide open in the night. It was not much different from other cities, but the strange smell was still blowing in his face. Accompanied by the darkness, Lu Qing felt like a stranger in a strange land. In the past, when he went to a strange place, he was not alone. He was either accompanied by his parents, relatives, master, or classmates in the martial arts club. But this time, he was traveling alone in a strange land, for the dream of martial arts, for the new stage of his life. Thinking of his dream, thinking of Yenjika, thinking of the challenge tournament, Lu Qing took a deep breath. In the dark night, in a strange city, in an empty space, in a slow jog, softly humming an old song. I know my future is not a dream. I've lived every minute seriously. My future is not a dream. The night was as cold as water. The song was low, and the figure was fading away. P.S. I want to be on the homepage on Monday. Chapter 34. Lu Qing booked a small hotel near the train station. It was converted from a regular hostel and operated like a youth hostel. The price was based on the bed instead of the room, so it was relatively cheaper. It was perfect for students like him who needed to save money. Of course, this small hotel was a little more upscale than a youth hostel. According to the comments on the internet, it was quieter, more formal, and less complicated. After 10 minutes of jogging to the hotel, Lu Qing registered his ID card and was led into the room by a waiter. It was a standard room with 2 beds. The inner bed was already occupied and was snoring loudly. Surprisingly, the sound of the door opening didn't wake him up. Lu Qing frowned, but when he thought of the small hotel that only cost a few dozen yuan, he relaxed again. You get what you pay for. I can't ask for too much. After the waiter left, he locked his backpack and valuables in the cupboard of his bed and quietly went to the bathroom. After brushing his teeth, taking a shower, and squatting, he took off his jacket and jeans and lay on the bed. The bed wasn't soft, but it was much better than the seat on the train. It comforted Lu Qing's body from every contact point and slowly let his emotions drift away. A strange city, a strange place, and a strange bed. Everything was so strange, as if it had nothing to do with his past life. The sound of snoring, the sound of wind whistling outside the window, and the roar of the engine from time to time, made Lu Qing feel a little uneasy, but also a little isolated from the world, as if he was the only one awake in the world, still enjoying the tranquility and strangeness of the night. Collecting his thoughts, he told himself to go to sleep as soon as possible. There was a competition tomorrow, so he had to be in the best state of mind. He sent a message to Yenjika, saying that he had arrived safely in Yenling. Then he charged his phone and put it under his inner pillow, in case it was stolen. Then, to resist the snoring, he closed his spirit and qi and entered meditation, emptying his mind as the bright nebula rotated slowly. Unknowingly, he fell into a deep sleep. But when it was 5:30, his biological clock urged him to wake up naturally. Instead of staying in bed, he nimbly turned over and put on his jacket. After brushing his teeth, washing his face with cold water and combing his hair, he felt refreshed again. He opened the cabinet, took out his things, rummaged through his backpack, and changed into the navy blue, Longhu Club martial arts suit. Then, he carried his luggage and tiptoed out of the room. Under the surprised gaze of the receptionist on duty, he completed the procedures and walked out of the door. It was still dark at 5 in the morning in winter. None of the morning stalls were open. Only a few cleaners were sweeping the snow nearby. Fortunately, it was a big city. There were street lights everywhere, illuminating the road in the bone-chilling wind. He took out his phone, opened the map, and searched for the match venue and the route to his current location. It's only a little over 20 kilometers. Isn't that far? Let's just run over there. It'll be a good morning exercise and a warm-up for the competition. Slightly more than 20 kilometers? Is it very far? The cleaner beside him raised his head and looked at Lu Qing blankly, suspecting that he had misheard. Even if he wanted to take a taxi, it wasn't near, right? After stretching his muscles, Lu Qing carried his backpack and started running. Braving the cold wind and darkness, he ran until dawn. The sun rose from the east, and the traffic on the street gradually increased. Before 7 o'clock, he arrived at the competition venue, the the Yenling martial arts gym. He stood still nearby, practiced his fighting style, and completed his warm-up. After that, he found a breakfast shop, ate 5 big meat buns in one go, and drank a cup of soy milk with satisfaction. At this time, his phone beeped. Yenjika replied, "Lazy Cheng, get up. Be careful not to be late for the match." In a strange place, a familiar chat. Lu Cheng unconsciously showed a smile on his face. Handsome people get up early. I'm already near the match venue. You really worked hard for the match. You went to bed so late last night. Yenjika sent a patting head emoji. Are you in good spirits? If your match is in the afternoon, you can find a place to sleep first. I'm nervous and excited. I'm in good spirits. Lu Cheng truthfully described his state and sent a silly smile emoji. Yenjika didn't mention the topic of Lu Cheng's good performance again. They chatted until they arrived at the airport, boarded the plane, and turned off the communication device. Lu Cheng put away his phone, carried his backpack, and went to the reception of the committee. After a few minutes of waiting in line, he handed the invitation to the receptionist. The pretty girl with light-colored glasses looked at the invitation, entered the serial number into the computer, and checked the information. Please give me your ID card for verification. She looked at Lu Cheng with a little curiosity. No rank, full of the air of a student. How did he get the invitation? Lu Cheng took out his ID card and handed it to the receptionist. The receptionist checked it carefully several times before returning it, and gave him a black round card half the size of a palm. There was a phoenix embossing on it, and the number, 656, was written on it. This is your number and entry certificate. After you enter the arena, go to each big screen and look at the matchup table. Find your opponent, the arena you're in, and the number of matches you're in. Go to the side and wait in advance. If you want more detailed information about your opponent, you can go to the service desk to get it. The delicate and pretty girl said seriously. Thank you. Lu Cheng thanked her with a smile. Sorry, one more question. Is there a place to leave my luggage? Yes, please go to the reception desk. The receptionist gave a standard smile. The Yenling Martial Arts Stadium was bigger than Lu Cheng had imagined. There were at least 20 to 30,000 spectators. Outside the huge ring in the center of the stadium, there were 9 simple rings separated by white lines around the practice field. In the first few rounds, when there were many fighters, the matches would be held in all 10 rings at the same time. After one match, the most popular one would be in the center ring. When it came to the group matches, the simple rings would be removed and only the central ring would be held. There were many big screens in the stadium for the spectators to use or to replay the highlights. At this time, the pages were turning to show the list of matches. Lu Cheng moved to one of the screens and looked for his name according to the number. After a few pages, he finally saw his name. Ring 7, Round 5, number 656, Lu Cheng, 18 years old, no rank, number 237, Lu Yinglong, 22 years old, amateur 4th pin. Damn, I'm going to meet an amateur 4th pin master as soon as I come. Lu Cheng felt wronged. Although it was much better than facing a professional 9th pin or even professional 8th pin master directly, it was already a bad draw for him. He was quite confident to face an amateur 7th, 8th, or 9th pin master. Should I change my draw today and go home? Forget it, I'll just increase my actual combat experience. In front of another screen, a few men were also looking at the list of matches, 18 years old, no rank. Big brother, you're so lucky. A bearded man wrapped in a dark down jacket said to the leader with a smile. The leader was a young man of average height. His eyebrows were thick but messy, and there were traces of acne on his forehead. The most eye-catching thing about him was his arms, which were much longer than normal people's arms, almost reaching his knees. Facing the cheers of his junior brothers and sisters, Lu Yinglong calmly shook his head. It's not worth being happy about now. Why is it not worth being happy about? Big brother, isn't this the best opponent you've ever had? 18 years old, no rank. A young girl in a martial arts suit was puzzled. Lu Yinglong took a deep breath. There's another kind of people who are 18 years old and have no rank. Those direct disciples of big sects and martial arts competitions don't bother to participate in amateur ranking events. They just want to finish their apprenticeship and make a career out of it. That's true. The bearded man at the beginning showed some concern. Big brother, let's go and ask for detailed information. Since there were 10 matches going on at the same time, the audience naturally couldn't enjoy all of them. They would make corresponding selections based on the list of matches, whether they were interested or not, and whether the time was right. When they had a general idea, they would go to the service desk to ask for detailed information of the players and make the final selection. As for the fighters and matches that were valued, the service desk would also recommend them to the audience. Carrying a big backpack, Lu Qing lined up in front of one of the service desks. While waiting, he took out his phone and opened a web page, wanting to know how Road to the Arena and Invincible Punch were doing in the draw. In the Longhu Club forum, the live broadcast post of Phoenix Cup Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge Tournament had been set up. Road to the Arena wrote with a funny emoji. Good luck, I got a guy of amateur 7th pin. Looks like I'm blessed by the goddess of luck in this challenge tournament. Little Punch is good too. His opponent is of amateur 5th pin. The gap between them is quite obvious. Then you have to win glory for the forum. If you don't make it to the group stage, bring your little brother to see me. Okamoto's fan replied. Beautiful World and other female IDs also cheered for him and asked Road to the Arena and Invincible Punch to take pictures. We'll do it when we win this match. Road to the Arena replied with a little pride. Lu Qing grinned, envious of their good luck. In front of the service desk, he asked for the information of his opponent and himself. He put away his backpack and walked to ring 7 while reading. Lu Yinglong, male, 22 years old, the eldest disciple of Baiyuan Martial Arts School in Yanling. He started practicing martial arts at the age of 20 and is now of amateur 4th pin, good at full arm boxing. The more Lu Qing read, the more guilty he felt. On the other side, Lu Yinglong also got the information. He glanced at it and laughed. Luckily, he didn't meet that kind of monster. He's just a rookie who came here to increase his actual combat experience. I guess he's preparing for the ranking event next year. The mustached man in the dark down jacket glanced at it. A student of Songqing University? Why did he come all the way here? Maybe his home is nearby. Lu Yinglong didn't care. Your opponents are all strong. You have to cheer up and deal with them carefully. When Lu Qing found ring 7, the match was about to start. The two fighters in the first match stepped into the ring, but the audience was sparse. Most of them were looking at the central ring. Maybe I can learn something from watching the match at such a close distance. He comforted himself. At 9:00 sharp, the bell rang. Phoenix Cup Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge Tournament officially began. Chapter 35. The martial arts arena was filled with the sound of punches and kicks and the collision of bodies. Lu Qing glanced at the 7th ring and couldn't help thinking about his opponent, amateur 4th pin, Baiyuan Martial Arts School, good at full arm boxing. What are the characteristics of full arm boxing? How big is the gap between senior brother Li Mao of amateur 4th pin and amateur 3rd pin? Can I make some preparations in advance according to the characteristics of his boxing? Lu Qing couldn't bear to watch the match anymore. He walked to the nearest spectator seat, took out his phone, opened the web, and searched for information about full arm boxing. He clenched his teeth and watched a video of a full arm boxing fighter's fight, which gave him an intuitive impression of his enemy. Full arm boxing imitates the pouncing of apes and monkeys. His footwork is very flexible. In the video, he appeared behind his opponent in a flash. He can be described as a ghost. His punches are like whips and spears. He is good at 1-inch punch and every move is crisp. Lu Qing outlined his upcoming opponent with his own understanding and thought about what fighting style to use. I'm courting death if I compete with him in terms of flexibility and agility. But I'm bound to lose if I keep defending. I may not even be able to withstand 1 or 2 punches. I have a general understanding of full-arm boxing, and I have a general understanding of him. What does he know about me? My profile says I'm a Songqing University student, age, height, etc. I've never participated in the ranking event and have no formal fighting experience. If I don't tell him, who knows what boxing style I'm practicing and what I'm good at? This is a kind of advantage. Combined with full-arm boxing, can I show a flaw and set a trap for him? He'll definitely look down on me and take the bait easily. Lu Qing held his phone and fell into deep thought. Gradually, he came up with an idea and decided on the direction of his attempt. Once his heart was set, his aura calmed down. His earlier apprehension and disappointment quietly disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by anticipation and eagerness. Maybe it will work. If I don't give it a try, why should I lower my head and admit defeat? Standing up, Lu Qing felt a sense of pride, as if he was ready to fight against the heavens and the earth. The haze from before was swept away. Even if he really lost, at least he wasn't afraid. At least he tried his best. This was the spirit and willpower that a real martial artist should have. When Lu Qing returned to Ring 7, the third match had just ended. The 2 fighters in the 4th match were using the 3-minute conversation time to curse each other, trying to provoke each other. Lu Qing looked around and found several men and women in black martial arts suits on the left side of the ring. Some were wearing down jackets, some were playing with their phones, and one of them was very eye-catching. His arms were extraordinarily long. Long arm. It should be Lu Yinglong. Lu Qing thought. Lu Yinglong also noticed him and said to the mustached man beside him, "Look, my opponent is here." The mustached man looked over and chuckled. "You look like you've learned a lot. No wonder you want to come here for actual combat practice." The other disciples of Baiyuan Martial Arts School laughed for a while and then dispersed to their own rings in case they missed the time. Only the mustached man and the girl who was playing with her phone were left behind. The 4th match lasted for a long time. The 2 fighters who were cursing each other were evenly matched in strength. After more than 10 minutes of stalemate, the winner and the loser were both out of breath. Since there were at least 20 knockout matches in each ring in the morning, time was tight. The referee only took a sip of water and then announced the start of the 5th match. The 2 fighters entered the ring. Thump. Thump. Lu Qing couldn't help but feel nervous. In the words of the internet, he was like a newbie trembling in fear. This was his first official martial arts competition. Even if there was hardly any audience, let alone cheering. He took a deep breath and concealed his spirit and chi to get rid of most of his nervousness, leaving only a little for secretion of hormones to keep his body in the best state. He took out his phone, wallet and other belongings, took off his thermal jacket and handed it to the match supervisor. After checking his number plate, Lu Qing stepped into the white line and came to the left side of the referee, facing Lu Yinglong, who had extraordinarily long arms. 3 minutes of conversation time, the referee said concisely. The referee said concisely. He seized the 3 minutes to regulate his breathing and recover, so as to avoid exhausting his physical strength and slowing down his reaction in the later stages. He would be unable to prevent accidental injuries from happening. After 10 matches, he would switch places with the supervisor who had been resting all this time. Conversation time? After greeting each other, Lu Qing's mind went blank. What should he say? If it was talker, he could make him unable to say anything. Lu Qing was not good at psychological games. Standing there like a fool, he fully demonstrated the characteristics of a newbie. Lu Yinglong smiled and said, "Don't be nervous. Just perform what you have been practicing." Hearing this, the girl who was playing with her phone and the bearded man in a dark down jacket laughed out loud. Was Big Brother used to instructing his junior brothers and sisters? Lu Qing was also a little embarrassed, as if he was back in the martial arts special training, facing senior brother Li Mao's preaching. "Thank you," he responded politely. Facing a newbie, Lu Yinglong disdained to play verbal and psychological games. He quietly counted the time, regulated his breathing, and pushed his body to the best state. Lu Qing was half in meditation, coordinating every inch of his muscles, slowly getting them into the best state for exerting force. 3 minutes passed quickly. The referee pressed down with his right hand. Begin. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Yinglong didn't show any modesty. He stepped forward and shook his right arm. His strength was channeled, and like a javelin, the tip of the spear went straight for Lu Cheng's chest. The crisp sound was like the sound of the wind. Seeing that he was coming at him aggressively, Lu Cheng took a stance, blocking the punch with his left arm and right hand. Bang! The two collided, making a dull sound. Lu Cheng only felt that his body was slightly pressed, which was a sign that his opponent's strength was slightly better. But Lu Cheng was not surprised. Instead, he was happy because it was only a slight advantage, which meant that there was not much difference between them. This meant that after only 3 months of training, with the help of the Jin Dan, he had the strength of an amateur fourth-pin fighter. Just as this thought flashed through his mind, Lu Yinglong suddenly disappeared in front of him. Like a monkey jumping, Lu Yinglong appeared behind him in a flash, which was impossible to guard against. Lu Yinglong's left hand, which was hanging softly, suddenly tightened like a whistling soft whip, making a crisp sound. He drew a semicircle and whipped Lu Cheng's neck from top to bottom. With his strength, the 1-inch force of the full-arm boxing, and the posture of this move, if it hit Lu Cheng, at least the bones would be fractured. If it hit the neck, Lu Cheng might pass out on the spot and become a paraplegic. The referee was ready to stop it at any time. Lu Cheng seemed to have expected this. Without turning his head, he took 2 big steps forward and avoided the full-arm boxing. But Lu Yinglong didn't seem disappointed. Instead, he raised the corner of his mouth and followed up with another attack. He wanted to force Lu Cheng to be unable to turn around and walk out of the ring step by step. Seeing Lu Cheng take a step to the left in an attempt to dodge, Lu Yinglong followed him closely and threw out his right arm like a javelin. Just as he was about to hit Lu Cheng, his eyes suddenly froze. He saw Lu Cheng straighten his back and straighten his spine, like a flood dragon rushing out of the shoal, forcibly shifting his center of gravity back. Yin Yang stance. Lu Cheng was best at Yin Yang stance. With a turn of his feet, Lu Cheng came behind Lu Yinglong. Lowering his dantian, he visualized the scene of a brutal blizzard in his mind. White snow, whistling wind, and freezing cold. His heart was cold, and his strength was strong. He adjusted his muscles and was about to hit one of the first 8 moves of 24 blizzard strikes. But at this moment, he changed his visualization in an instant. A bolt of lightning struck down from the sky and hit the trees, igniting a prairie fire. Lu Cheng felt numbness in his tailbone and a warm current gushed out. Under the double push, he felt his arms swell. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched Lu Yinglong's neck fiercely like a whip or a knife with a whistling sound. It was exactly the same as before, except that the offense and defense had been switched. Beside the ring, the girl playing with her mobile phone didn't notice the sudden change. The mustache man who had been watching the fight couldn't help but take a step forward and stare at the ring. Lu Yinglong punched Lu Cheng and watched helplessly as Lu Cheng disappeared in front of him. Behind him came a whistling sound of wind. He had no time to dodge or take a step forward, so he could only tilt his body to avoid the vital part of his neck. Bang! Lu Cheng's punch hit Lu Yinglong's shoulder hard. Lu Yinglong's body sank involuntarily, and he felt a sharp pain in his brain. He seemed to hear the sound of bones cracking. Clenching his teeth and enduring the pain, Lu Yinglong struck backward with his elbow in an attempt to turn the tables. However, Lu Cheng had been pushing the brutal blizzard strike with a calm heart. He didn't let his guard down and dodged sideways. Naturally, he used the other move of 24 blizzard strikes. He lifted his right foot and kicked Lu Yinglong in the back of the knee before Lu Yinglong turned around. Lu Yinglong couldn't stand up anymore and fell forward on his knees. Lu Cheng caught his left arm and held it behind his back. As for his right arm, his shoulder was injured and he couldn't exert any strength. Round 5, Lu Cheng wins. The referee announced the result loudly. Hearing this, The girl playing with her mobile phone suddenly looked up, only to see her senior brother being caught by the student with no rank and kneeling on the ground with one knee. What? Did I see it wrong? What happened just now? She was confused and turned to look at the mustache man beside her. The mustache man was in a trance, staring at Lu Cheng with fear. He saw coldness and madness in Lu Cheng's eyes. Eldest senior brother had actually lost. How could he lose? He had the upper hand. How could he lose in the blink of an eye? The other party is just a novice student with no rank. Am I dreaming? Round 5, Lu Cheng wins. When the referee's announcement came into Lu Cheng's ears, he felt like he was in a dream. He actually defeated an amateur 4th pin master. Did he really win? Everything seemed to be unreal until Lu Yinglong, who stood up because he let go of his hand, said with a strange expression, "You're strong, I'm strong?" Lu Cheng suddenly came back to reality. He had really defeated an amateur 4th pin master. Everything was as he had planned in advance, to lure the careless Lu Yinglong to take the bait with the flexible footwork of full-arm boxing and expose his back to the opponent. Then he seized the opportunity to attack fiercely. When the moves were old and he lost the opportunity to be flexible, he would use the yin-yang stance to give him a heavy blow. Then he would use the brutal blizzard to suppress him. If he didn't succeed in these 3 moves, he would most likely be the next one to lose. According to his master. Except for iron cloth, golden bell shield, or other martial arts methods, the fights between the body refining realm and most of the Danchi realm were all about flesh and blood. They couldn't withstand guns, nor could they withstand the full force of martial arts. Although the fights were often in a stalemate for a long time, the real winner was only 1 or 2 solid strikes. There was even a saying in the ancient martial arts books that 1 strike could decide life and death. Thank you. He smiled and cupped his hands. Lu Cheng watched Lu Yinglong and the other 2 leave Arena 7, looking back every few steps. Their faces were full of shock and fear. Lu Cheng also left Arena 7, took back his belongings and jacket, and quietly and steadily blended into the crowd of contestants and spectators. When he reached a secluded place, the corners of his mouth suddenly raised. He clenched his fist and waved his elbow, beaming with joy. I won. I really won. He defeated an amateur 4th pin master. Chapter 36. The bearded man in a dark down jacket and the girl playing with her mobile phone followed Lu Yinglong in fear. They looked back at Ring 7 from time to time, but their sight was completely blocked by the players and spectators coming and going. Lu Yinglong walked forward in silence, which made his junior brother and sister feel depressed. After a while, the girl playing with her mobile phone couldn't help but ask timidly, "Senior brother, where are we going now?" Lu Yinglong stopped, paused for a few seconds, and said in a hoarse voice, "Emergency room." The bearded man and the girl looked at each other in shock. Senior brother was not only defeated by a college student with no rank, but also injured? The 3 of them were silent again. They walked through the crowd to the emergency room. Injuries in martial arts competitions were very common. Disability and death happened occasionally. Therefore, every official competition, the organizer would cooperate with the hospital to set up an emergency room in a suitable place in the stadium for immediate treatment. Lu Cheng walked excitedly with a smile on his face. He had taken back his mobile phone and was logging into QQ, ready to share his victory with Yen Jika. Ha ha ha, I won the first official competition. I won. I won. He typed quickly with both hands and sent a proud emoji. Of course, Yen Jika was still in the sky and wouldn't land until 11:00, so she couldn't see it and reply immediately. And this didn't take into account the delay. After sending the message, Lu Cheng calmed down a little. After thinking for a while, he decided not to tell Kai Zongming about this matter. He decided to wait until the dust settled. God knows how far he could go. If he was eliminated in the second round tomorrow, wouldn't he have to bear the ridicule of Little Ming for nothing? He opened the web page and entered the forum. Then he browsed through the live broadcast posts of Road to the Arena and Invincible Punch, wanting to know the results of their matches. However, he found that both of their matches were in the afternoon. Now they were wandering around the competition venue, watching the matches of different challenge tournaments. It's a pity that no one paid attention to my match. Not many spectators witnessed my victory. Lu Qing felt a little regretful. He put away his mobile phone and walked to the central ring, intending to watch more matches and gain more knowledge. The matches arranged in the central ring were relatively more popular, but it didn't mean that there would be fighters of professional ninth pin. If their opponents were weak, the battle would end in a few moves, and the viewing value would be much lower. Therefore, the matches in the central ring followed a principle, to be evenly matched. Of course, this was not the case for those famous martial artists. Many spectators had come to watch their matches, so naturally, they would be arranged in the central arena. When Lu Qing arrived at the central ring, a match had just ended. Some of the spectators who didn't like the big screen and preferred to watch the match up close were having a heated discussion. Baiyuan Martial Arts School is really powerful. No wonder it has become more and more famous in the city in the past 2 years. It has even spread to other cities. A teenager with pimples all over his face sighed with emotion. His companion, short and stout, nodded repeatedly. Yeah, an amateur 5th pin versus an amateur 6th pin. He's only 1 pin higher, but he won so easily and finished the battle in a few moves. Haha, he leaps around like a monkey and knocks his opponent out in a few moves. His opponent can't keep up with his rhythm. Oh right, what's his name again? A middle-aged man wearing a black leather jacket at the side interrupted. I think his name is Qin Jilin, one of the more powerful disciples of Baiyuan Martial Arts School. The teenager with pimples seemed to be a local of Yanling and knew Baiyuan Martial Arts School quite well. Who's the most powerful disciple of Baiyuan Martial Arts School? I'll find him for a match. The middle-aged man in the jacket was in high spirits. The teenager with pimples thought for a while and said, it's their senior brother. I think his name is Lu Yinglong. Lu as in Liu Bei, Ying as in Ying and Long as in Dragon King. The middle-aged man in the jacket took note of the name and planned to go to the service desk to find out which ring and which match Lu Yinglong would be in. After he left, the 2 teenagers said almost at the same time, let's sign up for Baiyuan Martial Arts School. Hearing their discussion, Lu Qing felt a little complacent. He, the powerful disciple of Baiyuan Martial Arts School lost to me. But according to them, the full-arm boxing of Baiyuan Martial Arts School seemed to be very powerful. Lu Yinglong should not be treated as an ordinary amateur 4th pin. He might have the fighting strength of an amateur 3rd pin. Of course, the difference of 1 or 2 pins was not that big of a difference. Even a difference of 3 or 4 pins was not that desperate. A martial arts competition depended on one's level, one's state of mind, one's fighting style, and one's understanding of each other. It could not be determined by a simple level. Otherwise, there would be no need for a match. As long as their levels were different, the winner would be decided. If that's the case, what level of strength do I have? Lu Qing calculated with great interest while watching the match in the central ring. My strength is only a little bit worse than Lu Yinglong's, and there is a big gap between my flexibility and agility. But I'm much better than him in terms of body coordination, short bursts of power, and endurance of continuous bursts of power. I can't compare with him in terms of concentration and sensory sensitivity. My fighting style is not bad, but my actual combat experience is not good. So I'm at the level of amateur 3rd or 4th pin? Lu Qing was shocked when he did the calculation. With the comparison and actual combat experience, he could intuitively feel his own level. It had only been 3 months, and he had unknowingly reached the level of senior brotherly Mao. Amateur 3rd or 4th pin? Well, I can't be blindly proud. I have to fight a few more matches to be sure and have a solid foundation. Qin Jilin, a disciple of Baiyuan Martial Arts School, was complacent and excited because he had won a lot of attention and cheers in the central ring. He met up with several fellow disciples who had finished their matches in the nearby ring and walked to the agreed place. Hurry up, senior brother must be impatient. Qin Jilin said with a smile. His speed of winning should be similar to that of senior brother, but his match was relatively late. Another disciple of Baiyuan martial arts school echoed with a smile. Senior brother's opponent was so weak, and the match started so early. You can't blame us for being late. He also won the match. The disciples chatted and laughed as they escorted Qin Jilin to the agreed place. Lu Yinglong was already sitting there waiting, accompanied by the mustache guy in a down jacket and the girl playing with her mobile phone. I told you, senior brother must have been waiting for a long time. Qin Jilin had just finished his words when he saw Lu Yinglong's right shoulder bulging. He didn't know what was in it. Senior brother, what's wrong with you? He blurted out. The other disciples also noticed the weird atmosphere. The usually active mustache guy didn't even greet him. Lu Yinglong said flatly. After a long silence, he said, I got hurt in the match. No way. How could that kid hurt you, senior brother? Didn't he have no rank? Qin Jilin stuttered. Among the disciples of Baiyuan martial arts school, he admired senior brother Lu Yinglong the most. Lu Yinglong didn't have any martial arts foundation, but he had surpassed his peers and reached amateur fourth pin in just 2 years. In his master's words, Lu Yinglong was a genius in practicing Tongbei boxing with both body and spirit. How could such a senior brother get hurt so easily? Another disciple asked with concern, Senior brother, your shoulder is hurt. What about the rest of the match? What else can I do? Give up, of course. A female disciple retorted. Just then, she found the mustache guy and the girl playing with her mobile phone were silent. There's no more match. I've already lost. Lu Yinglong said in a hoarse voice. Lost? Senior brother lost? All the disciples looked at each other in disbelief. Senior brother, that Lu something, is he really a direct disciple of a big sect and didn't participate in the amateur ranking event? What rank do you think he is? Qin Jilin quickly recovered and kept asking questions. Lu Yinglong thought for a while and said, body as one and coordinated as one wishes. He's not far from this description, if not close. Body as one and coordinated as one wishes? Wasn't this the description of Danqi state? The disciples were stunned and speechless. After a short silence, Lu Yinglong slowly stood up. Let's talk about it back in the martial arts school. After waiting in line for a few minutes, the middle-aged man in a leather jacket smiled at the girl at the reception desk. Can you help me check the match number? It's Lu Yinglong's match from Baiyuan martial arts school. He didn't bother to check the long list of matches. What if the match was already over? The girl at the reception desk said with a professional smile, okay, just a moment. Lu Yinglong from Baiyuan martial arts school, right? Well, his match is already over. He lost. Lost? Hey, interesting. Who did he lose to? The middle-aged man in a leather jacket became more interested. He could infer Lu Yinglong's strength from Qin Jilin. How could he lose? A player named Lu Cheng. He doesn't have any rank. The girl at the reception desk suddenly stuttered. The middle-aged man in a leather jacket was shocked at first and then relieved. He must be a disciple of a big sect. Yes, an ordinary college student. The girl at the reception desk was more and more surprised. What? The middle-aged man in a leather jacket gasped and said in a hurry, give me his detailed information. I'll check it out tomorrow. After returning to the martial arts school, Lu Yinglong reported the match to Yu Haichao, who was also his master. In the end, he asked, Master, can you figure out Lu Cheng's background? Which sect is he from? Yu Haichao's arms were also unusually long, and his hair was slightly white. He pondered and said, coordinating the body and pulling the center of gravity are the basic abilities of the Danqi state. In the body refining state, there is no lack of pole standing training. There are too many of them, so it's hard to distinguish them. But the strike he used to hurt you, according to Xiao Dong's description, was a bit like the 24 blizzard strikes of the ice sect, and also a bit like the explosion of the lightning and fire stance of the thunder sect. Master, How about you make a phone call to find out his background? Lu Yinglong asked again. Why bother? Who hasn't lost a match? The warrior sage has, and so has the Dragon King. Yu Haichao shook his head. Lu Yinglong continued to plead, Master, I don't want revenge. I just don't want to lose without knowing why. Yu Haichao thought for a while, took out his phone and dialed a number. Though it had only been 2 years since he opened the Baiyuan Martial Arts Club in Yanling, he had enough connections among the martial artists to investigate some things. After giving up the fight against technology, the martial artists quickly integrated into the modern society. They were human beings, not beasts. They were not in a life-and-death relationship with technology. They could also master technology and use firearms. Soon, they occupied a lot of resources. In the current society, due to the popularity of martial arts, many criminals were not weak and had a clear advantage over the police who lacked firepower. Therefore, the police department had to recruit martial artists who were fond of power or retired from the professional circle to resist and maintain the harmony and stability of the society. In recent years, the police department had basically become the private property of the martial artists. Otherwise, it was not enough to resist the violent criminals who were armed with firearms. In the army, the special forces were also composed of martial artists. However, the high-tech and powerful troops were still on guard against the disciples of the sects and supported the new forces. With such connections, Yu Haichao got the answer quickly. He turned to Lu Yinglong and said, It's the same as the information you saw. No other information. Lu Yinglong frowned and said, That's not normal. Yeah, it's not normal. Yu Haichao sighed. But what can I do? Do you want me to watch his match tomorrow? Chapter 37. It was almost 12 o'clock. The last match of the morning was in the central ring. The two contestants stepped on the stone steps and came to the left and right of the referee respectively. The audience was in an uproar, talking and flashing lights one after another. It seemed that this was the match that everyone had been looking forward to. Lu Qing didn't take the other match sheets, so he could only look around with blank and innocent eyes. He couldn't hold back his curiosity and seized the opportunity to ask a passerby next to him, You're so enthusiastic. Who's in the match? The passerby had an alien face. He raised his eyebrows, You don't know? Why should I know? Lu Qing was unconvinced, but he said with a smile, I forgot to take the sheet. Anyway, I'm just looking around. The passerby curled his lips and answered Lu Qing's question. This is today's match between the two fighters of the highest rank and the closest strength, professional 9th pin versus amateur 2nd pin. Do you see the girl in the pink and white martial arts suit? Her name is Yi Yaoting, professional 9th pin and the young master of the Yi Martial Arts Club in Yanling. She is famous for her tiger-shaped and leopard-shaped kung fu. Her opponent is Guan Yan, a disciple of Zhejian Martial Arts Club. Professional 9th pin versus amateur 2nd pin? It's barely a match. Lu Qing had seen the real strength of professional 9th pin, so he had no confidence in Guan Yan. But for the first round of the knockout match, the gap of 2 pins was very small, so the audience couldn't be picky. Yi Yaoting was tall, with thick eyebrows and a straight nose. She looked pretty in the pink and white martial arts suit. She said to Guan Yan, If you can take 3 strikes from me, I'll admit defeat. Guan Yan, who was strong and sturdy, was a bit angry at her words. Although there is a big gap between us, I'm not easy to deal with. I won't allow you to humiliate me. In Yanling, he and Yi Yaoting had met each other in various martial arts activities, but they had never talked or competed with each other. Today was the first time they met in the ring. He did not expect the opponent to be such an arrogant woman. It was true that hearing about her was not as good as meeting her in person. Yi Yaoting looked relaxed and smiled, Then let's have a try. After that, she stopped talking and waited for the 3 minutes to pass, waiting for the referee's announcement. Begin. As soon as the referee finished speaking, Yi Yaoting jumped out with a gust of wind, like a cheetah galloping from a standstill. Her momentum was enough to frighten many fighters. In the blink of an eye, she'd already closed the distance between them. Her feet shook as the energy in her entire body was twisted into a single strand. She clenched her right hand into a fist, and it seemed as if she was holding an enormous axe or heavy iron hammer. It oppressed the air, whistled through the air, and fiercely smashed down in both form and spirit. Guan Yen subconsciously wanted to dodge, but Yi Yaoting's words suddenly flashed in his mind. As long as he could block 3 attacks, she would directly admit defeat. Lu Qing saw Guan Yan's expression suddenly change. The defense line formed by his arms was forcibly opened by Yi Yaoting's strength. His chest was empty and he was directly hit by the fist that still had momentum. He lost his center of gravity. Then, Yi Yaoting exerted strength under her feet, opened her fist, and pushed Guan Yen down the stairs. With only 1 hit and 1 push, Guan Yen of amateur second pin was defeated. Lu Qing opened his mouth slightly as the referee's voice rang in his ears. Yi Yaoting wins. The spectators didn't realize what had happened until Yi Yaoting left the ring. Then they came back to their senses and started to clamor. When did the gap between an amateur second pin and a professional 9th pin become so big? Guan Yen is a well-known figure in the amateur martial arts circle. How could he not block a single blow? Is Yi Yaoting a professional 8th pin already? In the midst of the discussion, Lu Cheng's heart was still palpitating. Most of the pride and satisfaction from his victory over Lu Yinglong had dissipated. Yi Yaoting defeated Guan Yen with her strength alone. Strength alone. When Lin Kei, a professional 9th pin who was close to the Danshi state, fought with Chen Zhanghua and other amateur 1st and 2nd pin fighters, the gap in strength was not so big. He didn't even have a big advantage. Could it be that Yi Yaoting was born with great strength? No, if she was so strong with her strength alone, plus the tiger and leopard forms that she was good at, she should be able to reach professional 8th pin or even 7th pin before the Danshi state. She shouldn't be in such a low level now, unless she made a rapid progress in a short time and didn't have time to participate in the ranking event. This was one possibility. Another possibility was that the blow just now had something else to do with it. Maybe it was a skill of born with great strength, plus a short burst, which increased her strength a lot in an instant and reached the level of crushing, which couldn't be sustained. Yes, maybe that was the case. Otherwise, why did Yi Yaoting provoke Guan Yen with the limit of 3 moves? She wanted to win beautifully, so she used moves that could at most burst for 3 or 4 times, like my lightning and fire stance. After thinking it through, Lu Qing didn't feel relieved. Instead, he admired her even more. The gap between him and a professional 9th pin fighter was very obvious. With Yi Yaoting's cheetah-like speed, he couldn't have dodged that blow just now. He could only take it head-on. But if he did, Guan Yan's ending was obvious. If the power of the mega avalanche of the 24 blizzard strikes and the explosion of the lightning and fire stance, how far would his strength be from Yi Yaoting's strike just now? Was there any hope to take it head-on? While thinking, Lu Qing left the arena and came to the service desk that was empty. Please give me the checked luggage. Lu Qing handed the number plate and luggage tag to the service desk girl. Because of the Phoenix Cup Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge tournament, the hotels around were all full. The small hotel he booked had to be checked in before 2:00 p.m., or the reservation would be cancelled. The service desk girl took the 2 round tags and looked at them. She immediately looked up at Lu Cheng and found the key to open the storage room behind her. She found Lu Cheng's backpack and gave it back to him along with the tag. Thank you. Lu Cheng said politely. He put on the backpack and the tag and walked out of the arena. The service desk girl saw him off. She suddenly turned her head and said to her companion at the service desk, Hey, is that the college student with no rank who defeated Lu Yinglong of Baiyuan Martial Arts School? Him. He doesn't look very strong. The other girl stood on tiptoe and looked at Lu Cheng's back. Let's wait and see the result of his second round tomorrow. Lu Cheng entered the lobby of Fulin Hotel and saw a lot of people in martial arts suits waiting in line to check in. Business is so good. He sighed and stood at the end of the line. He habitually took out his phone and logged in QQ to see if Yenjika had replied to him. Beep 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 beep. Lu Qing saw Yenjika's cute cat profile picture jumping. You just landed. Not bad. You didn't disgrace our Songqing University Martial Arts Club. A few minutes ago, Yenjika sent a laughing emoji covering its mouth. Microphone, how do you feel about winning your first official match? Lu Qing couldn't help but smile. He tapped his thumb and sent a proud emoji of a man wearing sunglasses. What do you think? Well, thank you CCTV, thank you MTV, thank you KTV. No, thank you Yenjika, thank you Coach Sher, thank you Martial Arts Club, thank you Lin Quebec. After a few seconds, Yenjika replied with a laughing emoji and then a frowning emoji. I'm serious about my feelings. Lu Qing answered seriously. I was a little nervous at that time because my opponent was of a much higher rank than me. But when it came to the real fight, I forgot to be nervous. I just wanted to show my plan and practice. First of all, you don't have a rank. A much higher rank than me is wrong. Second, what rank is he? Yenjika asked with a curious emoji of an internet celebrity cat. Lu Qing looked at the screen and smiled. Amateur fourth pin. Yenjika sent a cat emoji of, I was so scared that I dropped my dried fish. Really? Really? I would lie to anyone but you. Lu Qing secretly expressed his respect for the girl again. Yenjika sent a patting head emoji and said, well, Qing has always been honest. How did you win? How did your strength improve so fast? I don't think my brain is enough. Know yourself and know your enemy. After I saw my opponent, I asked for detailed information and found that he was good at full arm boxing. Then I looked for videos of full arm boxing and found that their footwork was flexible and they liked to jump around to control their opponent. Lu Qing didn't hide anything in front of the girl he admired. According to this information, I made a plan. First, I sold my back to my opponent and let him think that his footwork was good enough to force me into a corner and make him lower his guard. Then I used yin yang stance to make him lose his moves and went around to his back. With the explosion of 24 blizzard strikes and lightning and fire stance, I won the fight. After that, I calmly dealt with it and took advantage of the victory. Well, the key to winning was that he didn't know me and underestimated me. After a few minutes, Yenjika replied, I just got off the plane. After reading your description, I feel like I'm also participating in a competition and fighting with such an opponent. It's so satisfying and wonderful. In fact, my grandpa also said that martial arts rank is the embodiment of long-term stability. However, when it comes to a single competition, there are too many factors that can affect the outcome of the competition. I'm the continuation of your martial arts dream. Lu Qing said in his heart, you'll have such a chance in the future. Yenjika sent a pitiful emoji. You've improved so fast. I didn't expect you to be like this, Qing. I can't slack off either. The number of people in front of Lu Qing gradually decreased until there were only 4 people left. They were all wearing dark green martial arts suits with mountain-shaped patterns on the cuffs and collars. One was an old man, one was a young man, and 2 were girls in their 20s. They booked 2 rooms, took the room cards, and left the front desk. When walking to the elevator, the young man with a crew cut looked back at Lu Qing and whispered, Are you also participating in the challenge tournament? The old man looked at Lu Qing and saw that he was happily chatting with his cell phone with a silly smile on his face. He shook his head and said, Just a fan. He's here to watch the competition. The young man didn't say more and pressed the elevator button. The joints of his right hand were thick and slightly iron-colored. Lu Qing checked in and got a double bedroom for himself. This was a luxury for the sake of a good rest and competition. Jean Dan could restore physical strength but not mental strength, and it wasn't that extravagant. The room here was small and the facilities were old. Even the Express Hotel couldn't compare with it. It only cost a little more than 100 yuan. Yenjika had gotten up early and was airsick. When she got home, she chatted for a while and then went to sleep. Lu Qing didn't get enough sleep last night. Today's competition was over, so he felt relieved. He rested for a while and then took a nap. When he woke up, the sky was dark and the room was silent, as if it was doomsday. Lu Qing calmed down and checked his cell phone. He found that the competition between Road to the Arena and Invincible Punch had ended. Both of them won and posted their photos as promised. Road to the Arena had a short parted hairstyle. He was good-looking and energetic, but he had dark circles under his eyes. Invincible Punch was tall and handsome, with a buzz cut and sword-like eyebrows. Many replies were sent to him. Seeing that the afternoon was almost over, Lu Qing didn't want to go to the martial arts club anymore. Instead, he went to the park nearby to practice and find dinner. After that, he went back to his room and lay on the bed, chatting with Yan Zhika and his classmates. He also browsed the BBS and watched videos on Weibo. At 8:40 the next day, a middle-aged man in a leather jacket arrived at the martial arts club. He approached a screen and looked for the details of the competition list with his eyes wide open. Number 656, Lu Qing. He whispered. Lu Yinglong and other disciples followed Yu Haichao and stepped into the competition venue again. Yu Haichao looked at the big screen from afar and murmured to himself, Number 656, Lu Qing. Lu Qing was also standing in front of the big screen, looking for his number and name to determine his opponent in the second round of knockout. Chapter 38. Ring 4, Round 9, Number 419 Hu Zheng, 20 years old, amateur 6th pin, Number 656 Lu Qing, 18 years old, no rank. Lu Qing took out his phone happily and sent a message to Yan Zhika. You're luckier than yesterday. You're an amateur 6th pin fighter. Yan Zhika had been waiting for the result of the draw. She immediately sent a proud emoji with arms akimbo. See, you're lucky today. You're so lucky. That's right. You were in a hurry yesterday. My luck wasn't good enough. Lu Qing followed her words and complimented her. All my luck was on my adventure of Jindan and my pursuit of you. There were still more than 200 matches in the second round. There were at least 10 matches in each ring in the morning. It seemed that the number of matches had been reduced by half compared to yesterday. However, considering that many fans had been eliminated and there were more fighters who were close to the same level today, the time spent on a single match had increased accordingly. The two offset each other. The schedule of the day was still a little tight. But in the second round, when most of the weak fighters had been eliminated, he had drawn an amateur 6th pin opponent, which was enough to prove his luck. Hee hee. Yan Zhika replied with a smile, showing her happiness. She quickly sent a second message. Go and get the information of this fighter. Don't underestimate him like you did yesterday. Yes, Coach Yan. Lu Qing sent a modified version of a funny emoji to tease the girl. Yan Zhika replied with a serious and cute emoji. It's good that you know. I'll help you analyze your opponent later. While chatting, Lu Qing queued up in front of the service desk. After a few minutes, he got the information of his opponent. Hu Zheng, male, 20 years old, high school dropout, from Yanling, gym coach, martial arts club sparring partner, amateur 6th pin. It was still early for the 9th match. Lu Qing found a seat in the corner and sent Hu Zheng's information to Yan Zhika. 1, 75 meters tall, 130 pounds. He defeated Ji Xiaoxing of amateur 8th pin in the first round of the knockout. Yan Zhika sent an emoji of standing tall in the wind. The information will be updated. With the result of the first round of elimination, you won't be able to take advantage of your opponent's underestimation and carelessness. Lu Qing could see Hu Zheng defeating Ji Xiaoxing of amateur 8th pin in the first round. Of course, Hu Zheng could also see him eliminating Lu Yinglong, the senior brother of Baiyuan Martial Arts School, a master of amateur 4th pin, in the first round. His opponent would only be cautious and alert as if facing a formidable enemy. Forget it. There's no such thing as taking advantage of the opponent's underestimation and carelessness. An amateur 6th pin is exactly the level I'm confident in. I have a good chance of winning a fair fight. Lu Qing replied frankly. Yes, yes. This is the spirit of a martial artist. Yenjika sent a patting head emoji. These amateur fighters who work as martial arts club sparring partners and gym coaches have something in common. They value muscle strength, have a variety of fighting styles, and can adapt to various opponents. However, they don't have their own strengths. Wait, let me search again, haha. Lu Cheng was amused by Yenjika's cuteness. He replied with a serious emoji, Coach Yen is so professional. Time flew by as they watched the matches and chatted. Most of the matches in the ring had entered the 6th round. Lu Cheng sent a message, it's the 6th round. I'm a little nervous again. It's good to be nervous in moderation. Yenjika comforted him. Then you go and prepare. Don't chat. Calm down, adjust your state, and think about your fighting style. Okay. Lu Cheng replied. When he was about to quit QQ to save electricity, Yenjika suddenly sent another message, Cheng, wait a second. Here's another message for you. This message was followed by a voice message. Lu Cheng clicked on it out of curiosity and heard Yenjika's soft and clear voice, Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng. Come on, Lu Cheng. With a buzz, great joy hit Lu Cheng. He felt as if there were fireworks exploding in the bottom of his heart and his eyes were filled with brilliance. This was the first ring of life and the first shout. Filled with joy, Lu Cheng replied excitedly, yeah. I'll do my best. Yenjika didn't say anything more but sent an encouraging emoji with a fist clenched. In the corner, Lu Cheng waved his fist heavily as if he had won all the matches in the ring. He solemnly saved this voice message and listened to it over and over again. With surging courage in his heart, he quit QQ and left his seat. He walked to the 4th ring with full strength. The 4th ring. The uncle in the leather jacket found the ring with the matchups and dozens of interested contestants' information. He found the most suitable seat for watching and waited for the dark horse student who defeated Lu Yinglong to come on. 5 or 6 rows away from him, the owner of Baiyuan Martial Arts School, Yu Haichao, sat quietly, his eyes wandering on the big screens of different matches. Beside Yu Haichao, Lu Yinglong and the other eliminated disciples sat on his left and right. They were all silent. Qin Jilin also came because today's match was in the afternoon. He wanted to see the Songqing University student who injured and eliminated the big brother. In this silence, which was incompatible with the surrounding environment, Lu Yinglong suddenly raised his right hand and said, he's coming. Qin Jilin followed his finger and saw a young man in a navy blue martial arts suit. He was about 18 or 19 years old, of medium height, with short hair. His appearance was ordinary, but he gave people a feeling of gentleness and calmness, with a bit of scholarly air. Great success in meditation. Calm down and calm down. Calm down. A familiar hoarse voice came into Qin Jilin's ears. He subconsciously looked over and found it was his master Yu Haichao, a master of professional 5th pin who had participated in the 2nd-level competition. When he was old, he declined the invitation of the police department and set up Baiyuan Martial Arts School in Yanling. Great success in meditation? Qin Jilin heard himself and the big brother gasp. Even a master of Danqi State wouldn't dare to say that he had achieved great success in meditation. Yu Haichao stood up, his hands hanging on his knees, and sighed. If I hadn't seen a lot of martial artists who had achieved great success in meditation, I wouldn't dare to make such a judgment. Of course, some people have such talent, so there's no need to force it. Don't you all have different physiques? This young man has a talent for meditation and has achieved great success. He has a great chance of reaching Danqi State in the future. Great success in meditation didn't mean absolute strength. It just meant that it would be less difficult to reach Danqi State in the future. Lu Yinglong looked at Lu Cheng again and found that he still didn't know his opponent's background. Every time they met, Lu Cheng would surprise him and shock him beyond his imagination. What's his level now? Qin Jilin asked subconsciously. Yu Haichao shook his head. How can you tell directly? Let's wait until the competition starts. Everyone in Baiyuan martial arts school fell into silence again. Lu Qing felt full of energy and unusually excited. He didn't calm down until he finished watching the 6th and 7th match of Arena 4. In the 8th match, he collected his thoughts and focused his thoughts, thinking about his opponent. After seeing that I eliminated Lu Yinglong, Hu Jing will definitely infer my situation from this match. Lu Yinglong is a famous full-arm boxing fighter in Yanling. He's good at agility and nimbleness. No matter how he looks at it, he will conclude that I can restrain his nimbleness or guerrilla fighting style. As long as Hu Zheng is not a guy who pretends to be weak and hasn't participated in the amateur ranking event for 1 or 2 years, he will definitely be cautious and steady when facing me who defeated Lu Yinglong. He won't dare to use his nimbleness or guerrilla fighting style in case he falls into my trap. Hey, can I take advantage of this? Lu Cheng's thoughts flashed through his mind one after another. Finally, he stopped at the match between Yi Yaoding and Guan Yan the day before. Hu Zheng will definitely be defensive at the beginning. Well, I can give it a try. Let's see if I can overpower him directly without considering the subsequent outburst. According to yesterday's match, he was stronger than Hu Zheng in terms of pure strength, unless he pretended to be weak. But in that case, he had no chance of winning. Let's have a good fight first. Having made up his mind, Lu Qing relaxed and began to watch the match. 10 minutes later, the 8th match ended. The referee took a deep breath and adjusted his breath before announcing the start of the 9th match. Lu Qing vs. Hu Zheng. After handing in his belongings and warm coat and checking his match number plate, Lu Qing walked into the ring and saw the strong Hu Zheng in a karate suit. In the stands, the uncle in the leather jacket sat up straight and stared at Lu Qing, murmuring to himself, "He's really a student. I wonder how strong he is since he defeated Lu Yinglong and what he's good at." Yu Haichao, Lu Yinglong, Qin Jilin and other members of Baiyuan Martial Arts School also turned their eyes away from the other rings and focused on Lu Cheng's match. Lu Cheng was aware of this, but it was normal to be watched by the audience during a match. He didn't need to make a fuss about it. He was even more excited about it. There was an audience for this match. Hu Zheng looked at Lu Qing, who still looked like a student, with a heavy heart. After getting the information about his opponent, he knew he was going to face a formidable enemy. Baiyuan Martial Arts School was well known in Yanling. Hu Zheng had heard about Lu Yinglong long before and knew his full-arm boxing was so powerful that he couldn't compete with him. And the opponent in front of him was the one who had eliminated Lu Yinglong. Hu Zheng exhaled and saluted. He had made up his mind. Only by relying on the characteristics of full-arm boxing could he have a slight chance of winning. Lu Qing returned the salute without saying anything. He began to adjust his muscles and compress his strength little by little. If he wanted to imitate Yi Yaoding's terrifying strength, he had to be prepared in advance. The bowstring had to be pulled to the tightest so that the arrow could be shot further. The spring had to be stretched to the extreme so that it could be retracted with a whistling sound. The strength had to be compressed to the limit so that the final explosion would be heaven-shattering. He visualized a picture of a towering snow mountain in his mind. White snow swirled in the air and kept piling up, accumulating the horror of condescension. The third group of 24 blizzard strikes, Mega Avalanche. At this moment, the referee raised his right hand and pressed down hard. The 9th match starts now. In an instant, the snow mountain in Lu Cheng's mind started to rumble and tremble. The accumulated strength was about to burst out. He felt that he seemed to be a little taller. Facing Hu Zheng, who was of the same height as him, he had a feeling of looking down on the people below from the top of the snow mountain. Boom! In his visualization, the sound of thunder roared and a bolt of lightning struck the peak, igniting a prairie fire. The accumulated snow collapsed with a loud crash and fell down with a whistling sound, turning into a rolling torrent. This was the most terrifying snowstorm in the world. The hot stream rose from the tailbone and the strength of the compressed muscles suddenly burst out. Lu Qing took a few steps forward, raised his right hand and punched at Hu Zheng with the momentum of collapsing thousands of tons of snow. His body seemed to expand. Hu Zheng, who had raised his arms to defend, was stunned. He had an illusion that Lu Cheng had turned into a giant or a towering mountain peak. In the audience seat, Lu Yinglong suddenly stood up. Chapter 39. For a moment, Hu Zheng had the illusion that Lu Cheng in front of him had expanded into a giant. His fist made a crisp sound, and the wind whistled as he came crashing down from above. His momentum was so ferocious that it felt as if a mountain was collapsing and burying everything. Such power made Hu Zheng involuntarily want to dodge. He didn't dare to face it head-on, but he had already set up a defensive stance. It was obviously too late to retreat, and that would lead to a worse result. He could only grit his teeth and strengthen his belief. He slightly changed his blocking stance and crossed his arms outside his body. Such a stance wouldn't be broken, but it would lose subsequent counterattacks and changes. It was the most stable and stupid choice. Hu Zheng couldn't think so far ahead. Bam! As the fist and arm collided, a muffled sound erupted and entered Hu Zheng's ears. At the same time, he felt a majestic force pressing down on his body. Although his crossed arms were not broken, it was hard to stop them from being pulled back. They were forcibly pressed against his body, sticking to his chest. What a terrifying force! Hu Zheng was hit by his own arms that seemed to have transformed into a giant hammer. His ribs hurt, and his center of gravity swayed. His feet couldn't support him anymore, and his body fell backward. In order to maintain his balance, he could only stagger backward and try his best to stabilize his center of gravity. At this moment, Lu Cheng had already stepped closer. His body leaned to one side, and his left shoulder sank. He leaned forward and hit Hu Zheng's chest with a bang. The momentum of an avalanche, unless it was stopped voluntarily, the torrent would roll endlessly. Hu Zheng staggered and was hit so hard that he completely lost his balance. He flew backward and fell to the ground with a thud. Lu Cheng wins. The referee announced loudly. I lost just like that? Hu Zheng looked around blankly and found that he had fallen over the edge of the arena. I lost with just a punch and a lean? How many seconds has it been? Is that kind of strength really an amateur? On the nearby viewing platform, Lu Yinglong stared blankly in front of his fellow disciples, and his face was ghastly pale. After witnessing the might of Lu Cheng's strike earlier, he sorrowfully realized that even he might not be able to withstand such terrifying strength. After his master Yu Haichao's analysis of yesterday's match, he was actually not convinced. He felt that he had lost the match without showing his true strength. It was as if he had fallen into a well-designed trap. The gap between the two of them was not as big as it seemed. Lu Cheng had only taken advantage of his talent in meditation, excellent coordination skills, and strong control of the center of gravity. He was not as good as Lu Cheng in other aspects, so his victory was only a fluke. However, what he saw just now completely destroyed the remaining pride and self-consolation in his heart. He felt as if he had truly recognized the sorrow of reality. I didn't use my full strength, and neither did Lu Cheng. If he had used that attack yesterday, it wouldn't have been as simple as a bone fracture. Recognizing one's own weakness was not a simple matter, but it was also a cruel thing that one had to face. The master next to him didn't say a word, and the surrounding junior brothers and sisters were all silent. The whole world seemed to have quieted down. The man in the leather jacket was holding his phone, ready to record a video at the most intense moment of the match and enjoy it at home. However, just as he unlocked his phone and turned on the shooting function, the match was already over. Isn't this a copy of yesterday's match? As a fan, he didn't understand the meaning of that attack as well as Lu Yinglong. He was just shocked that Lu Cheng had defeated Hu Zheng of amateur 6th pin with one hit and one push. It was very similar to yesterday's match where Yi Yaoting defeated Guan Yen with one hit and one push. After getting the information yesterday, he returned to the central ring to watch the match. Although Guan Yen was of amateur 2nd pin, much stronger than Hu Zheng, his blocking posture yesterday was both offensive and defensive, with follow-up counterattacks. It was not as extreme as Hu Zheng's crossing of arms, so it couldn't be simply compared. After thinking it through, the man in the leather jacket put down his phone and clapped his hands, although Lu Qing might not be able to hear it. This match was really full of surprises. "Uncle, why are you clapping?" The young couple next to him looked at him strangely. They were watching another match on the big screen. Was there such a wonderful match worth clapping for? The man in the leather jacket laughed and said, "Just now a student of no rank defeated an amateur 6-pin with 1 hit and 1 push, just like yesterday's match where Yi Yaoting defeated Guan Yen in the central ring." The match between Yi Yaoting and Guan Yen was the highlight of yesterday's match, and it was replayed on the big screen today. The shy girl of the young couple smiled shyly and said, "It sounds about the same, but it's actually different. There's such a big gap between ranks." As a fan of martial arts, the man in the leather jacket understood the basic stances. He gestured and explained the difference between Guan Yen and Hu Zhang's defensive stances. "In the end," he said, "although there's still a gap, it's not too big. That student of no rank is not simple." The young couple was interested. "What's his name? What's his number? Let's watch his matches tomorrow. Many of them are quite boring." Lu Qing. Lu as in building, Qing as in success. Number 656. The man in the leather jacket was very helpful. Lu Qing wins. When the referee's announcement came into his ears, Lu Qing had already stood straight and stopped chasing. He only felt a burst of emptiness in his body, and a warm mass in his dantian flowed to the rest of his body, soothing his tiredness. The Jin Dan was running automatically. The combination of mega avalanche and lightning and fire stance made him feel tired, much more tired than yesterday's match. It seemed to be comparable to Lin K's round of brutal blizzard. This kind of outburst is really a huge burden and consumption. If I were to rely on myself, I could only use 2 strikes at most. Lu Qing sighed to himself. The joy of today's victory was not as good as yesterday's, but he was more confident, no longer feeling unreal and insecure. Through this battle, he was sure that he was no longer an amateur, and that yesterday's victory was not accidental. "I can barely be considered an amateur master." Lu Qing's tiredness was instantly relieved. With the joy of confirmation, he calmly walked out of the ring line and found the supervisor to take back his personal belongings. Seeing this scene, Yu Haichao, the master of Baiyuan Martial Arts School, who had been calm all this time, also stood up. "Master, what's wrong?" Lu Yinglong asked in astonishment. Yu Haichao looked at the frightened disciples and sighed. The combination of mega avalanche of the 24 blizzard strikes of the ice sect and lightning and fire stance of the thunder sect, plus 3 minutes of adjustment and accumulation, it's not surprising that he has such power. What frightens me is that he didn't show the slightest sign of tiredness after such a strike. This means that I can't tell how many times he can continuously make similar strikes. Even without 3 minutes of accumulation, at least 70 to 80% of the power remains. This is quite scary. Lu Yinglong, Qin Jilin and the other disciples looked at each other in astonishment. Their master's evaluation was so high. "Master, what rank do you think he is?" Lu Yinglong asked subconsciously. Yu Haichao chuckled. "You can't tell just by looking at a punch. Strength isn't the only thing that matters in martial arts, but he can't be weaker than an amateur third pin fighter. You guys, look at him. If 1 or 2 of you can master meditation and learn the subsequent stances, your strength will at least improve a lot. Now that you've seen his strength, can you calm down?" He took the opportunity to educate his disciples. Some still stances were not secret in the martial arts circle, but if one couldn't master meditation, it wouldn't make much difference even if they practiced it. "We understand." Lu Yinglong, Qin Jilin and the other disciples more or less understood. "You guys watch more of his matches. Maybe you'll learn something else." Yu Haichao reminded them and walked down the stands with his hands behind his back. He left the martial arts club. Lu Qing took back his phone and immediately groped to the remote stands. While watching other martial arts matches through the big screen, he logged on QQ to report the good news to Yan Zhika. When the martial arts club participated in the district competition, Yan Zhika organized the cheerleading team and took care of the logistics, so she easily got his phone number. But SMS was outdated, and students preferred QQ to WeChat. Haha, I won. I won easily. Thanks to Coach Yan's guidance. Lu Qing expressed his joy with 3 exclamation marks and complimented Yan Zhika in a joking manner. Yan Zhika seemed to have been waiting for the result. Her reply came quickly. Smile, not bad, you're worth teaching. How did you win? She was always interested in the details of a match. I eliminated Lu Yinglong, so my opponent must have paid attention to this point. He would wonder if I could restrain the fighting style of full-arm boxing, so he would make targeted changes. In other words, he would first use a defensive parry. Lu Qing explained in detail to share his achievement and please the girl. Considering this point, I prepared to use the most ferocious attack at the beginning to see if I could break his stance and get the absolute upper hand, just like the match I told you about yesterday. Yan Zhika replied with a cute emoji with a finger on the lips. Qing, now I think you have some talent for fighting in matches. Lu Qing sent a crayon Shinchan scratching its head with a silly smile. Not as good as you said. He continued to send messages. Didn't I tell you before that coach sure saw that I had a talent for meditation and taught me some pole standing and moves in private? So, I took advantage of the 3-minute conversation time to accumulate strength and compress my body's strength to the current limit. Then, I used the combination of Mega Avalanche and Lightning and Fire stance of 24 Blizzard Strikes to make my opponent lose his center of gravity in one hit. Then, I got close to him and knocked him out of the arena. That's right. Qing, every time I listen to your description of a martial arts competition, I can't help but imagine myself in your shoes. I always wonder how I would react and what the result would be if I were in your shoes. This makes me experience a wonderful battle without even leaving the house. Yan Zhika sent an emoji of twinkling eyes. You must have done better than me. Lu Qing seized the opportunity to praise her again. He sent a blushing emoji. I'm very happy to make you feel this way. Yan Zhika sent a laughing emoji with a hand over its mouth. Then she said, I was looking for your match process and news on the official website, but there was only one short sentence on the news. The first round of the Phoenix Cup Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge Tournament has ended. Yi Yaoting and other contestants have successfully passed. So annoying. I'm in that wait list. My name will appear in the future. Lu Qing sent a touching head emoji. While they were chatting, the match in the morning was over. Yan Zhika sent a fighting emoji. I've been provoked by you. After lunch and a rest, I'll go find Grandpa and Grandma and steal our family's martial arts. I'll practice for the whole afternoon. Huh, will they agree? Lu Qing replied. Yan Zhika sent a laughing emoji. Don't worry. I'll definitely be able to do it. My grandma loves me very much and she's soft-hearted. As long as I don't tell anyone and don't embarrass her, there won't be a problem. Then you have to strike a balance between work and rest. Lu Qing said with concern. He went out of the martial arts club and ate 3 boxes of cheap fast food. In the afternoon, Yan Zhika practiced martial arts. Lu Qing browsed the forum and watched the match. Suddenly, he saw a message from Invincible Punch in a live post in the forum. Master Road is on the stage. His opponent is an amateur 4th pin guy. Road to the arena is in the middle of a match. Lu Qing looked at the big screens one by one. Soon he found Road to the arena, whose photo had been posted before, had a 3-minute conversation time with his opponent. P.S. Since everyone is so insistent, I'll update the chapter at noon in advance. Actually, I've been updating quite a lot every day. According to the mainstream trend of Qidian, it's normal for a new book to be updated twice a day with more than 2,000 words. But I've been updating at least 3,000 or 4,000 words per day. If you want to share, 2,000 words per day is enough for 3 updates. Do you want to be so fickle? Since I've satisfied everyone's request, I'm begging for your votes. Chapter 40. Road to the arena didn't look much different from the photos he posted. Obviously, he didn't use any beauty or Photoshop skills. Lu Cheng was happy to see an acquaintance. He pretended to be an onlooker in the live post and replied with a cute emoji, "I just saw this post after the exam. Master Road and Invincible are showing off the power of our forum in Yenling. Who is that amateur fourth pin player?" Invincible Punch was obviously watching the match and occasionally taking photos and videos while browsing the forum. After 20 or 30 seconds, he replied to Lu Cheng, "Hey, I was wondering why Tiger was missing. So it's exam season." Laughing emoji, an amateur fourth pin player doesn't need Master Road's information. He's not a threat anyway. A little arrogant. Lu Cheng muttered. He didn't leave his seat to meet Invincible Punch near the arena. They weren't familiar with each other, so it would be awkward to talk to him. Besides, he was also participating in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament, so it was inevitable that he would be compared with them. Since there was a big gap between their ranks, it was better to avoid such things. Therefore, he just replied in a joking tone, "Does Master Road count as old but vigorous? He still occupies the #1 position on the forum, not giving us young people a chance. You sound like Master Road is 70 or 80 years old." Beautiful World replied with a laughing emoji covering its mouth. "As for you, Tiger, you won't be Master Road's opponent in 10 years. Don't even think about the #1 position on the forum. You really don't know how to chat. It's just a joke, why bother to refute?" Lu Cheng's mouth twitched and replied, No, I'm speaking for Invincible. He has the ability to usurp the throne. You unruly people always want to hurt me. What if Master Road gets me drunk and explodes my chrysanthemum?" Invincible Punch made a frightened emoji. Okamoto's fan replied with a funny emoji, 3 to 5 bottles and explodes your chrysanthemum. Isn't that great? On this topic, the moderators, Pig Riding Knight, a plumber eating mushrooms, and a Brahmin, chatted happily, all the way to the difference between condoms and condoms. I didn't expect a kid who just entered junior high school to be so filthy. Lu Cheng laughed secretly and turned his eyes back to the match. Road to the Arena had swift and fierce leg movements, fast punches and palm strikes, and elegant movements, which gave people a direct feeling of wind. His opponent was greatly suppressed. However, Lu Cheng was different from the past. At first glance, he noticed that his opponent's posture was a little awkward and that his strength was not enough. In the past, Lu Cheng had mainly watched the first level of the professional martial arts competition and the 5 major title matches. However, the battle between a physical invulnerability expert and a high-ranked dance stage fighter was already at an inhuman level. Using the famous commentator He Xiaowei's description, every mighty one of the physical invulnerability experts was at least equivalent to a main battle tank. There was no need to rely on the honor of having no second place in martial arts to make most of the martial arts fanatics wear each other out. This was a great hidden danger to the stability of the country. Because of this, before joining the martial arts club, Lu Cheng hadn't seen much of the fights between the lower stages of the dance stage and the body refining stage. He only knew the general knowledge and didn't have a deep understanding of these fights. However, after watching the National University Martial Arts Competition Division Tournament and the 20 to 30 fights in the past 2 days, and with the accumulation of his own actual combat experience, Lu Cheng began to have a keen eye for such fights. Road to the Arena seems to have been out of practice for a long time. His footwork and posture are still rusty, resulting in insufficient strength. If his opponent is stronger, he won't be so relaxed. But he has been busy with business these years, but he hasn't neglected training. His physical strength, and agility are all well maintained. After 2 or 3 more matches, he should be able to recover 70 to 80% of his strength. Lu Cheng analyzed the situation in his heart, but then he fell into deep thought. If I were to fight with him, how should I deal with him? How should I break his moves? With this thought in mind, he reconstructed the scene of the match in his mind and replaced the amateur fourth pin player with himself. He replayed and analyzed the moves of Road to the Arena, deducing the methods he should use and simulating the actual combat. Before he knew it, Road to the Arena kicked his opponent out of the ring and ended the match. Road to the Punch immediately took a photo of his victory pose and uploaded it to the live broadcast post. Master Road defeated his opponent in 3 minutes. Lu Qing stopped the simulation and glanced at the photo. He saw that Road to the Arena's forehead was sweating, which was sliding down his cheeks. His physical strength is still not a small problem. This is not something that can be recovered in a short time. Lu Qing nodded slightly and watched the 2 channel members leave. He got up and went to the service desk to ask for a paper match list. He searched for the information of the match just now to find out Road to the Arena's real name. Number 173, Zhou Yuaning, 29 years old, professional 9th pin, from Heishan Province, good at Wuthering 8 movements of 9 Heavens Godly Wind formula. It turns out that Road to the Arena is almost 30 years old. It seems that it is true that he used to have a well-known fighter as his master. It seems that his bragging is true, at most exaggerated. Lu Qing conveniently asked for a copy of detailed information about Road to the Arena. 9 Heavens Godly Wind formula had an inaccurate but easy-to-remember name among the people, unique skill of the Wind sect. Since Road to the Arena had inherited the Wuthering 8 movements, even if he had not formally become a disciple, he should have been taught by a well-known fighter. Lu Qing put away the information and went to another ring to watch the match. When he was far away, the girls at the service desk took advantage of the free time to whisper to each other again. I checked, and he won again. It seems that he is really a strong master. Yes, most probably disdained to participate in the amateur ranking event. I like boys with this kind of character the most. I wonder what kind of opponent he will meet tomorrow. Do you think we should recommend his match to the audience? Let's wait and see, so as not to waste our feelings. The girls discussed excitedly. This kind of self-discovered master was more intimate than the one advertised by the official. Watching one match after another, Lu Qing's mind was gradually filled with a variety of moves, and his heart was constantly playing out his own responses. At 4:00, he finally could not sit still anymore. He went out of the martial arts arena and returned to the hotel where he stayed. He put his coat in the room and went to a small park nearby. He began to play out the anticipated responses one by one, as if there was an imaginary enemy in front of him. The 24 blizzard strikes were broken up one by one. The internal order of the 3 groups of moves, Brutal Blizzard and Mega Avalanche, was disrupted and constantly reorganized. When he practiced to his heart's content, Lu Qing's eyes were cold and terrifyingly calm, but his punches and kicks were fierce and crazy. His posture changed. He no longer reorganized according to the 3 groups of moves, but completely disrupted all 24 strikes. According to the expected moves of the enemy, he casually reorganized them. At the beginning, he was inexperienced and disorganized, but later, he developed the image again and again. The division of the 24 blizzard strikes was originally aimed at beginners, so that they could be mastered as soon as possible. The core was actually 3 visualization methods: Brutal Blizzard, Chilling to the Bone, and Mega Avalanche. With these as the foundation, one could freely reorganize each of the 24 strikes. Chopping Fist, Elbow Strike, Low Kick, Blast Punch, Fast Palm, and Close to the Body, one after another, continuous crispy sounds, whistling wind, and even a sense of roaring, like the collapse of a snow mountain, mighty and mighty, burying everything. Lu Qing withdrew his punches and kicks, put on the last stance, and exhaled a mouthful of white air like an arrow. Obvious joy appeared on his face. His lower abdomen was warm, and the Jindan was flowing with ice and fire, relieving his fatigue. Finally, he felt that he had mastered the 24 blizzard strikes to a higher level and had mastered a lot. After having a casual dinner nearby, Lu Qing returned to the hotel. The first thing he did was to turn on the computer and connect to his phone. He copied and saved Yan Jika's voice message to his hard drive, in case his phone was damaged or lost. This was a good memory worth cherishing for a lifetime. After doing all this, he opened QQ and told Yan Jika what he had learned from practicing martial arts. Yan Jika also shared with him how she felt about learning her family's martial arts in the afternoon. Sitting in a simple room in a strange city, with some unfamiliar dialects in the park outside, Lu Qing felt a warmth that made him smile and made him feel tranquil and happy. Early the next morning, the man in the leather jacket changed into a black down jacket and walked in front of the big screen with two friends of the same age. Let me tell you something. I found a very powerful master, but he has no rank. The man in the leather jacket explained what he had learned in the past 2 days. He raised his head and looked at the constantly scrolling table. Number 656, Lu Qing, the young couple from yesterday, with a few classmates, approached the big screen while chatting. Yesterday I found a master without rank. The boy of the young couple pointed at the table and said, well, number 656, Lu Qing, Lu Yinglong and the eliminated junior brothers and sisters came to the martial arts gym again and stared at the big screen. Number 656, Lu Qing. He murmured to himself, waiting for the next page of the table. Suddenly, he narrowed his eyes and smiled. Interesting, Lu Qing, wrapped in a down jacket over his martial arts suit, followed the crowd to the nearest big screen and looked for his name for the third time. Second ring, round 10, number 819, Jean Tao, 19 years old, amateur first pin. Number 656, Lu Qing, 18 years old, no rank. Lu Qing was not surprised to see this news. In the third round, the number of rings was reduced to 5. There was a high probability of encountering a master of amateur first pin, second pin, or third pin. But he was a little unlucky not to be of amateur third pin. Well, it's a good chance to thoroughly measure my level. Even if I lose, I won't be short of rewards. He comforted himself and walked to the service desk while reporting the result of the draw to Yenjika on QQ. Then he sent a laughing emoji and said, just what I want. At this time, he couldn't say that he was lucky. He had to pretend that it didn't happen. While waiting for Yenjika's reply, he stood at the end of the line in front of the service desk. He browsed the forum and saw that Road to the Arena posted a new content. Little Punch, you're lucky today to draw a guy with no rank. His name is Lu Qing. Ah. Lu Qing was stunned. Chapter 41. A guy with no rank? What's his name? Isn't that me? My opponent is Invincible Punch from the forum? Lu Qing's mind was full of thoughts. He had a subtle feeling that fate was so mysterious. Although he had gone through 2 rounds of elimination, there were still more than 200 fighters left. What kind of fate was this to make him an opponent of the forum members? He scrolled down and browsed through the replies, only to see Unparalleled Dragon King, a martial arts maniac who had returned from overseas, saying, I've checked, and there really isn't a direct disciple of a big sect or force with this name. But you guys shouldn't underestimate him too much. How could he pass 2 rounds of the knockout competition without a rank? Unparalleled Dragon King had a terrifying martial arts database and knew all the fighters of the National University martial arts competitions like the back of his hand. But he still didn't know anything about Lu Qing. Looking at his reply, Lu Qing complained silently, if you want to find out about me, you can only go to the police department's household registration system and the Songqing University's office. Road to the Arena sent an inflated funny emoji. Don't worry. I'm a veteran. I know you can't underestimate those without rank. But no matter how much he looks down on the amateur ranking event, he won't give up the professional ranking event. He hasn't reached professional 9th pin yet, which means he doesn't have the strength to do so. If he's really a hermit and doesn't even want to participate in the professional ranking event, why did he sign up for the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament? Since he hasn't reached professional 9th pin, he's at most at the same level as Little Punch. What's there to worry about? There are too many factors that can affect the outcome of a competition at the same level. You have so much confidence in Little Punch? Beautiful World interrupted and asked. Road to the Arena replied with a smirk emoji, of course. Little Punch is my man. He has been of amateur first pin for more than a year and has participated in 2 professional ranking events. With his rich experience and deep accumulation, I think he can beat that Lu Cheng by a little bit. Maybe he has also participated in 2 or 3 professional ranking events? Brahman, a girl who was good at arguing, replied. Pig Riding Knight, the moderator of the forum, sent an emoji of knocking on the head. Lu Cheng is only 18 years old. If he has participated in 2 or 3 professional ranking events, how could he reach amateur first pin at 15? His body has just finished puberty. Wonton Seller entered the thread. I bet 10 packs of spicy strips that Little Fist can win. I bet 5 cucumbers that Little Fist will lose. Okamoto's fan followed closely behind with a funny expression, as if he wanted to see the world in chaos. The live stream post soon turned into a gambling post. Some bet 5 packets of instant noodles, some bet 6 ham sausages. The atmosphere was so lively that they almost forgot about the main topic, Road to the Arena. Road to the Arena replied, I'll bet on Little Fist's *********. If he dares to lose, I'll explode. Counting the number, Lu Cheng found that more than 80% of the forum members supported Invincible Punch. He wanted to bet 5 duck necks that he would lose, but then he remembered the jinxed mouth of Su Wanyan, the president of Shanbei University Martial Arts Club. He decided not to curse himself and pretended not to see the post. Beep, beep, beep. Yenjika replied with a messy expression. I just chatted with Grandma for a while and didn't look at my phone for 7 or 8 minutes. How did you get such a good opponent? Hee, my character is not good enough. You have to support me from time to time in the future. Lu Cheng said in a joking tone. You'd better stay with me all the time and shine on me with your character forever. Yenjika sent a thoughtful expression with her hands crossed under her chin. Now that things have come to this, let's consider the opponent's situation. Have you got his detailed information? I'm still waiting in line. There are more spectators today. Lu Cheng replied with a silly smile. Anyway, I have no hope of entering the top 16 to get the prize money. With the previous 2 rounds of training, I naturally hope that each opponent will be stronger than the last so that I can better achieve the goal of the actual combat practice. Yenjika replied with a smiley face covering its mouth. Cheng, you have the potential to be a martial arts maniac. While chatting, Lu Cheng came to the front of the counter. The girl looked at him deeply and directly printed the detailed information of Invincible Punch, Jin Tao for him without asking anything. You know me? Lu Cheng was surprised. The girl at the counter said with a smile, among the remaining 200 contestants, only you have no rank. I see. Lu Cheng somewhat understood. Your opponent this time is of amateur first pin. Good luck. The girl at the counter said excitedly. Lu Cheng was stunned at first, then he smiled. Thank you. There are still many kind-hearted people in this world. Leaving the counter, he quickly browsed through the information and sent the important ones to Yenjika. Jin Tao, 19 years old, of amateur first pin, student of Juku branch of Haiyuan Martial Arts Academy, 1. 85 meters tall. Coach, what do you think? Yenjika replied with a sunglasses shining emoji. Haiyuan Martial Arts Academy. I'll check their curriculum and see what kind of kung fu they teach. Wait a minute. It's so good to have the internet. Lu Cheng praised inwardly. He went to the second ring and found a seat at random. Then he began to read the gambling post, no, the live broadcast post. After dozens of people chatted for a while, the topic returned to normal because of the entry of Above the Sky. Little Fist, how are you feeling now? Are you nervous? Asked Above the Sky. Road to the Arena acted like a spokesman. Little Fist is cautious but not nervous. He's not playing with his mobile phone. He's calming down and adjusting his body to fight in his best state. What's that Lu Cheng good at? What kind of fighters did he eliminate? Unparalleled Dragon King asked again. Road to the Arena replied with a smiley face emoji. He eliminated the first disciple of Baiyuan Martial Arts School in Yenling and Hu Zheng of amateur 6th pin. Judging from the first match, he should be restraining the full arm boxing style. But I told Little Fist that he can't make such inferences since he hasn't seen it with his own eyes. What if his opponent completely overpowers him? It's better for him to focus on himself and give full play to his strengths. Even if he loses, he'll admit defeat. Well, focus on myself. That means there's no way to recreate yesterday's match. Lu Qing nodded thoughtfully. At this time, Yenjika sent a complacent emoji. Come on, praise me. I found the kung fu taught by Haiyuan Martial Arts Academy. Awesome. You deserve to be the coach. I'm counting on you today. Lu Cheng was not stingy with his praise. Even if it was a little exaggerated, he covered it up in a joking manner. Yenjika sent a smiley face covering its mouth. Haiyuan Martial Arts Academy mainly teaches tiger shape, bear shape, blast punch and spear finger. Excellent students can also inherit the 9 diseases strike derived from the unique skill of the plague sect. Your opponent hasn't reached professional 9th pin yet, so you don't have to worry about that. I've helped you search for the specific introduction and corresponding fighting videos of tiger shape, bear shape, blast punch and spear finger. Don't worry about the traffic. Take a look. Blast punch of Haiyuan Martial Arts Academy was not the same as blast punch that Lu Qing usually used. It was closer to lightning and fire stance, but it didn't need to be visualized and could be completed by special force techniques. In ancient times, some martial artists followed the Xingyi school, which imitated fierce beasts to obtain extraordinary combat power. Tiger shape, leopard shape, bear shape, wolf shape, snake shape and elephant shape came into being in this way. In modern times, with the development of technology, guns and cannons could kill beasts like weeds. Martial artists who followed the Xingyi school began to improve and imitate the power pattern of guns and cannons, creating explosive blast punch and spear finger. They were quite powerful as if they were driven by gunpowder. After watching a video, Lu Qing discussed with Yenjika for a while. He wanted to grasp the essence of these 4 kung fu as soon as possible so that he wouldn't be at a disadvantage. As time passed, it was time for the 8th match in the second ring. Lu Qing sent a smiley face to Yenjika. I'm going to calm down and adjust my state. In the end, I have to organize my thoughts. Talk to you after the match. Good luck, Yenjika sent an encouraging emoji. Lu Qing replied with a smirk. I was expecting you to send me another voice message. No, I already sent one yesterday. Yenjika replied with a smiley face covering its mouth. Lu Cheng was a little disappointed. After waiting for a while, he still didn't receive a voice message. So he logged out of QQ, put away his phone, and concealed his spirit and chi to adjust his state of mind. After 10 minutes, the referee of the second ring announced the winner. The 8th match was over, and the 9th began. In the stands 7 or 8 rows above Lu Cheng, rode to the arena, put down his phone and patted Jin Tao, the invincible punch, on the shoulder. Little punch, come on. Many people bet on you to lose. Invincible punch. Jin Tao took a deep breath and nodded slightly. Master Road, don't worry. I'm in a good state now. I won't embarrass our forum. After that, he stood up and walked down the stairs to the second ring. The next match was his. In the seats nearby, the uncle in the down jacket suddenly became energetic and said to his 2 companions, "It's about to start." The young couple who came with several classmates also sat up straight and pointed to the second ring. The master we talked about is about to come on the stage. Beside the ring, Lu Yinglong looked at the field with bright eyes and said to the junior brothers and sisters around him, "This time we can see his real strength." Because there were only 5 arenas left today, many of the spectators in other places also turned their gazes to this side. Lu Qing exhaled and opened his eyes. He got up and walked down the stairs to the second ring, which was close at hand. He didn't want to be disqualified by the referee if he rushed over after the 9th match. At this moment, his phone suddenly rang. It was a familiar ringtone. Lu Qing took out his phone and looked at it. It was Yenjika. He immediately chose to answer. A soft and clear voice came from the other side, "Cheng, come on. Come on, Cheng." Lu Cheng was overjoyed. He felt that everything was brighter, and the road to the second ring seemed to be covered with a layer of light. Before he could say anything, Yenjika had already hung up the phone. Holding the phone, Lu Cheng walked to the second ring with his head held high. He felt that he had nothing to fear. How can there be a rainbow without wind and rain? How can there be glory without failure? Chapter 42. Lu Cheng closed the distance of a dozen steps in one go and stopped at the edge of the arena, where he and Jin Tao, the invincible punch, were looking at each other across the two fighters. Jin Tao was tall and muscular. He had a buzz cut and sword-like eyebrows, and he was handsome and masculine. His loose-fitting martial arts academy uniform made him look like a tight suit. To be honest, he had been quite envious of Invincible Punch in the past few months when he had been on the forum. He was quite good-looking, and his strength was borderline professional. He was also quite lively, and he had made a name for himself in the martial arts forum. He had everything that he lacked and yearned for at that time. Every time he saw him, he always felt a little inferior and could only comfort himself that at least his IQ was higher than his. This time, the mountain that Jin Tao had envied was standing in front of him. The amateur first pin that Jin Tao had once thought was out of his reach was right in front of him. Jin Tao didn't need any other evidence. When he felt Lu Cheng's gaze, he knew that his opponent had arrived. Jin Tao had no relationship with the organizer of the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament, so he couldn't get the video of his opponent's previous 2 rounds. Although this guy called Lu Cheng looked like a student, Jin Tao had to face him with the most cautious attitude. In ancient times, the 3 kinds of people that one had to be careful of were the old, the children, and the monks. In modern society, in the professional circle, the most important people were the fighters with no rank. In the stands, one of the companions of the man in the leather jacket pointed at the ring and said, "Old Zheng, who is the dark horse you mentioned? The one on the left or the one on the right?" Old Zheng pointed at Lu Cheng and said, "That's him, the one on the left. He looks very ordinary." The middle-aged man in the leather hat shook his head. Elder Zheng chuckled and said, "You'll know whether he's a donkey or a horse later. Just watch carefully." The young couple also encountered a similar problem. They were asked by their classmates to point out the master they mentioned, Lu Cheng. They looked around but couldn't find the man in the leather jacket. They looked at each other blankly. None of them had seen Lu Cheng's match. Who the hell knows what he looks like? After thinking for a while, the shy girl said mysteriously, "You'll know when the match starts. Lu Cheng should be able to gain the upper hand by then." The winner of the 9th match was decided in 7 minutes. After clearing the field, the referee took the time to catch his breath and said loudly, "Round 10, Jin Tao vs. Lu Cheng." Old Zheng and the young lovers immediately adjusted their sitting postures. Lu Yinglong and the other disciples of Baiyuan Martial Arts School withdrew their gazes from the other matches and focused on the second ring. Lu Cheng gave his coat, personal belongings, and number plate to the supervisor, crossed the white line, and entered the field. He stood on the left side of the referee, 2 meters away from Invincible Punch, Jin Tao. In the stands, Road to the Arena posted new content in the live broadcast post. The match is about to begin. Little Punch is more of a master than his opponent. When he was done, he took a picture and attached it to the post. It attracted many comments from the forum members. Some said that Little Punch's appearance was not bad, some cheered for the forum members, and some commented on Lu Cheng's appearance, saying that they couldn't see how good he was. Inside the ring, 4 pairs of eyes met. Jin Tao suddenly smiled. "To be honest, I'm very happy and excited after I confirmed my opponent and got your information this morning. In the previous 2 matches, my opponents were weak and only served as a warm-up, which is contrary to my original intention of honing myself. I hope you won't let me down." He said so confidently, as if he was going to overwhelm Lu Cheng in spirit. Yenjika's soft and clear voice echoed in Lu Cheng's ears. He was full of strength and fearless. He smiled and said, "I hope you won't let me down, either." After that, no matter how Jin Tao tried to stir up a topic, Lu Qing remained silent. Images of the matches of Tiger Shape, Bear Shape, Blast Punch, and Spear Finger flashed through his mind. He quickly settled down and formed a final decision. Since Invincible Punch wanted him to focus on himself and make him unable to set up a routine in advance, then he should focus on himself and attack instead of defense. Attack instead of defense was not Lu Cheng's idea on a whim, but the result of a comprehensive consideration of all aspects. He still lacked actual combat experience, and there was still a certain gap between him and an amateur first pin. If he just defended, he would easily be thrown into confusion. The best way was to suppress his opponent with 24 blizzard strikes, so that his opponent would not be able to free up his hands and feet to counterattack. The longer the match lasted, the better it would be for him. After 10 minutes, even if he couldn't beat him to death, he would exhaust him to death. After making up his mind, Lu Qing naturally concentrated his spirit. His mind was like water condensing into ice. Half of his mind was in meditation, and the other half was reflecting the surroundings, listening to the movements of the wind and the changes of his opponent's body. This was the combat application of condensation stance. Combined with his ability to enter meditation, he almost had the subtle feeling of his primordial spirit leaving his body and overlooking the little things around him in a condescending manner. Without the previous 2 days' battle experience, the dozens of matches he had watched, and the breakthrough in 24 blizzard strikes yesterday, it would have been very difficult for him to achieve this step. The referee looked at his watch, raised his right hand, and suddenly swung down. "Begin." As soon as he finished his words, Jin Tao, the Invincible Punch, rushed to Lu Qing in a few steps. His momentum was strong and ferocious. He was like a fierce tiger in the forest, leaving no chance for Lu Qing to dodge. As the distance closed, Jin Tao's body seemed to expand, blocking Lu Qing's line of sight. He raised his right hand and threw a downward chop, like a claw or a fan, stirring up a violent wind. Roar. Tiger's roar brings wind, hundreds of beasts flee. Seeing Jin Tao coming at him aggressively, Lu Qing didn't dare to be careless. The scene of the brutal blizzard flashed through his mind. He sat cross-legged and held his breath. His palms were like little snowflakes, pushing them out. He caught Jin Tao's wrist from the side of his face in time and blocked the downward chop. His arms shook slightly, feeling the difference in strength between him and his opponent. Bang! Jin Tao's downward chop suddenly popped out his index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and little finger, shooting at Lu Cheng's face, like a cat showing its sharp claws. They also made a sharp sound, like bullets flying out of a gun barrel. If they hit Lu Cheng, there would be a bloody hole in his face, and even the referee couldn't stop it. Finger gun. Finger gun gun. Fortunately, Lu Cheng had watched the video of the tiger movement and finger gun in advance, so the combination of them and the wound on his opponent's face was still fresh in his mind. As soon as he blocked the downward chop with his hands, he took a step to the side and moved away. Bang! Finger gun missed. Lu Cheng swam to the side of Invincible Punch Jin Tao. He lowered his waist and threw out his right palm. In his mind was the scene of freezing snow, and a force was held in but not released, both bright and dark. In addition to avalanches, the most deadly thing in a blizzard was the insubstantial cold. The second force of 24 blizzard strikes, the chill to the bone. After the palm hit, Lu Cheng's mind was still as cold as ice, maintaining a state of half meditation and half reflection. At this moment, he keenly felt the muscle on Jin Tao's left thigh pulling at his trousers. This. Lu Cheng didn't have time to think about it. Following his intuition, he quickly adjusted his muscles, pulled back his center of gravity, and gathered the force that was held in but not released. A bolt of lightning struck in his visualization, igniting a prairie fire in an instant. At the same time, Jin Tao's left leg kicked out without warning. It was fast, accurate, and ruthless, aiming at Lu Cheng's chest and abdomen, like a fierce tiger's tail turning into a steel whip. If this kick landed, even if Lu Qing wasn't seriously injured, he would be unable to fight anymore. Tiger form, tiger tail sweep. Once the lightning and fire stance was in place, Lu Cheng's body heated up and all of it flowed into his right palm. With a whistling sound, he chopped down, narrowly blocking Jin Tao's kick. When the palm and the leg collided, Lu Cheng's body shook again. The explosion of the lightning and fire stance almost couldn't offset this fierce kick. He couldn't help but praise in his heart, no wonder it's the trump card of tiger form. His frozen heart lake reflected the general change of the force on Jin Tao's leg through his muscles and pores. Lu Qing adjusted his muscles and changed his center of gravity. Like a stretched spring, Lu Qing took advantage of the little force of this kick to retreat slightly and then pounce forward quickly. His left hand formed into a fist, as if shaking a big spear, and released the abrupt force, poking at Jin Tao. Jin Tao withdrew his leg, lowered his waist, and crossed his elbow to block the punch. But he was a little surprised because his opponent's strength seemed to be a little stronger than before. Sensing the strength on his elbow, Lu Qing adjusted his muscles again and changed his center of gravity again. Taking advantage of the little force of this block, he kicked fiercely from the bottom to the top with his right leg. Bam! Jin Tao also kicked out with his right leg and blocked in midair. Lu Qing withdrew his right leg, uppercut, side elbow, low kick, one move after another, as if there was no gap. The more Jin Tao blocked, the more frightened he became. He felt that his opponent's strength was getting stronger and stronger. At the beginning, there was a clear gap between them, but now it was just a little bit stronger. Different from floods and flames, except for avalanches, the damage of ice and snow didn't appear at the beginning. But as time went by, it would become more and more dangerous and fatal. This was the essence of the first momentum of the 24 blizzard strikes. And this required the user to hear the opponent's strength and adjust his center of gravity. Then he could continue to borrow strength and fight bravely. Because of this, when Geyser taught Lu Qing the 24 blizzard strikes, he specially reminded him that this fighting style was famous for its ferocity and craziness. But the mind must not follow the craziness. Instead, it must be as calm as water condensing into ice. If one wasn't calm, he wouldn't be able to reflect his surroundings. If he wasn't calm, he wouldn't be able to sense his opponent's muscles and pores. If he wasn't calm, he wouldn't be able to hear the opponent's strength. The calmer the mind, the fiercer the attack. Because of the need to constantly adjust his muscles to take advantage of the opponent's strength, one could imagine the consumption of physical strength. Previously, even Lin K of professional ninth pin could only suppress him for 2 or 3 minutes. One kick was faster than the other, one punch was heavier than the other. Jin Tao was like a thin pedestrian in a violent snowstorm, gradually smelling a bad smell. I can't go on like this. He took a deep breath and took the initiative to block Lu Cheng's blast punch with his palm. Then he suddenly took a step forward, turned sideways, and bumped into his opponent. During the whole process, his body seemed to expand. He was full of strength and momentum, as if he had turned into a human bear. Bear form, giant bear hits the tree. In the forest, if a giant bear hit the tree like this, even a towering tree would break on the spot. The arena seemed to be shaking. The collision was extremely fierce. Lu Qing put on a defensive posture, turning all the strength he had just borrowed into defense. Bam! The muffled sound echoed. Lu Qing didn't gain the slightest advantage with such strength. Instead, he slightly lost his center of gravity. Feeling the huge force on his body, he took 2 steps back. Fortunately, he quickly adjusted his muscles and immediately stabilized his center of gravity, not messing up his footwork. Jin Tao didn't relax after such a collision. He didn't take advantage of the situation to attack. Instead, he did breathing in and out to recover the breath that he almost couldn't breathe under the suppression of the brutal blizzard. Since the beginning of the fight, the two separated for the first time, resulting in a short confrontation. On the grandstand, old Zheng was stunned at first. Then, he stood up and applauded loudly. The tiger form spear finger whip kick and the crazy attack and defense for 2 to 3 minutes was the most exciting battle since the start of the competition. Anyone with a little bit of knowledge about martial arts or the audience who had watched some of the matches below the Danchi state would be able to appreciate the thrill and the foundation of the moves. Old Zheng was completely engrossed in the fight and secretly broke out in cold sweat. Every move, the slightest mistake would lead to failure. The young couple and the others also applauded, feeling that their wait was not in vain. Their enthusiasm attracted the attention of more spectators, who all focused on the second arena. I didn't lose unjustly. Lu Yinglong sighed in a daze. Chapter 43. Road to the arena. Zhou Yuaning unconsciously adjusted his sitting posture. At first, he was casually browsing the forum, but now he didn't even look at his phone. He pursed his lips, pondered for a few seconds, and said to himself, Ice Sex 24 Blizzard Strikes seems to have reached a higher level. Taking advantage of the short time they were apart, he quickly replied in the live post, Little Punch has met a master with inheritance. It's a stalemate. As soon as he sent this message, he looked up and saw Lu Qing step forward and launch another attack. Damn, doesn't he need to breathe? Road to the arena, blurted out. In the arena, Lu Qing, who had just stabilized his center of gravity after being knocked back by the bear shape, felt the nebula in his dantian expand and shrink, slowly rotating. The ice and fire separated, relieving the tiredness from the previous round of crazy attacks. He sighed inwardly. The Jin Dan was indeed a good thing. However, if it had been him before his battle with Lu Yinglong, or even when he had defeated Hu Jingshi, he would have been defeated and would not have lasted until now. Just that fierce tiger sweeping its tail would have been enough to end the battle, and his follow-up, Brutal Blizzard, had benefited from yesterday's mastery. 2 days of fighting, 2 days of observation, 2 days of combining his own thoughts, and 2 days of accumulating potential. Lu Qing felt that he was experiencing the first rebirth since he started learning martial arts, evolving from a student to a martial artist. Without adjustment or recovery, he visualized force of gale. His mind roared crazily, rolling up 1,000 piles of snow. His waist and back wriggled, connecting the vertebrae, and his pace became faster and faster. In a few seconds, he closed the distance between them. His right hand pulled back, like a bow, and shot back at Invincible Punch, Jin Tao. Jin Tao had just caught his breath, but before he had time to think, he saw Lu Qing in front of him again, punching at his ear. Doesn't he need to adjust his breath? He should be much more tired than I was after that round of crazy attacks. Without time to think, Jin Tao lowered his center of gravity, lowered his waist, and punched down with his right hand to block the attack. His fingers were ready to shoot, and the tiger thorn was about to pop out to prevent Lu Qing from borrowing his strength. He didn't try to borrow the force. Instead, he took advantage of the momentum and moved forward. He closed in on Jin Tao and elbowed him sideways. A crisp sound rang out as his strength exploded, forcing Jin Tao to take a step back and block with his left palm. Their pores touched and their muscles felt each other. Lu Qing's strength was reflected in his heart. He adjusted his center of gravity and borrowed the strength to give Jin Tao a spinning kick. Pa! As soon as Jin Tao blocked the attack, Lu Qing followed up with another attack, not giving him a chance to form a spear finger. Like an endless blizzard, Jin Tao's body was constantly scraped by Lu Qing, getting colder and stronger. Soon, the difference in strength between the two sides was closed. Jin Tao had no choice but to use the bear form again to force Lu Qing back. However, as soon as they separated, Lu Qing charged forward again without the slightest break or pause. Old Zheng and the rest of the audience cheered and the atmosphere became more and more heated. Bang bang bang. Pa! Pa! The more Jin Tao fought, the more terrified he became. He could feel that his opponent was getting stronger and stronger. This was not only because of the strength he was borrowing, but also because of his own physical strength. His strength was starting to weaken. How long could he maintain this crazy attack? Jin Tao had no confidence in this. He felt that he couldn't be so passive anymore. If he was worn down like this, he wouldn't even have the strength to fight back before long. He used the bear form again to force Lu Qing back. This time, Jin Tao took a deep breath. Without adjusting, he followed up with a few big strides and stomped his right foot. Bang! The stomping sound was like the explosion of gunpowder. Jin Tao's temples bulged. He straightened his back and clenched his right hand into a fist. Like a cannonball, he threw a punch at Lu Qing with a huge force. There was a harsh sound in the air. Blast punch. He threw a punch like a cannon. This punch reminded Lu Qing of Yi Yaoting's attack the day before yesterday. He didn't dare to face it head-on, but he couldn't avoid it either. He took a deep breath, lowered his waist, and quickly adjusted his muscles to compress the strength around him. In his mind, there were towering peaks, white snow, and falling frost, with a momentum of more than 10,000 tons. A bolt of lightning struck down, hitting the dead wood and shaking the snowy peaks. Boom! The snowy peaks and white streams collapsed and fell down in a mighty manner. It was going to bury everything below. 24 blizzard strikes, mega avalanche. The compressed strength suddenly broke out. Lu Qing threw a punch with the momentum of a snowy mountain collapse. His whole body seemed to expand a little, taller, and looked down at Jin Tao. Bang! The two fists hit each other from the side, making a dull and heart-stopping sound. Their arms were swung away, and their bodies were shaking. They were evenly matched. It was an even split. Although there was no 3 minutes to gather strength, and his opponent also used a terrifying blast punch, Lu Qing was still evenly matched. This was the result of the double explosion of mega avalanche and lightning and fire stance, and also the result of Jin Tao's physical exhaustion and weakening strength. Bang! The sound of the two fists hitting each other just now entered the ears of Lao Zheng and the other spectators. They couldn't help but feel nervous. They vaguely felt that the battle had come to an end. The terrifying blast punch and the avalanche-like blow were obviously their craziest and fiercest attempts. After the blast punch, Jin Tao felt a little tired. Why didn't he use bear shape and blast punch at the beginning? The former was not flexible enough, and the latter was too exhausting. When facing an unknown enemy, if he missed and was dodged, he would be in a very passive situation. He had to be cautious. He seized the time to adjust his breathing and quickly recover his strength. He believed that Lu Qing on the opposite side was also doing the same. The terrifying blow like a snowy mountain collapse was obviously a move that emphasized explosive and exhausting strength. Jin Tao's eyes were fixed on Lu Qing when he just recovered his strength. Lu Qing's attack came one after another. He didn't look tired at all, and even his breathing was so balanced. Balanced? While Jin Tao was still in shock, Lu Qing rushed in front of him, turned sideways, and hit his chest with his elbow. Before his strength recovered, Jin Tao hurriedly raised his hand, but was knocked away by Lu Qing's elbow and hit his chest. Jin Tao's chest tightened and he took a step back. Lu Qing's right hand shot out like lightning and caught Jin Tao's left wrist. With a pull, Jin Tao's body swung back toward his knee. Knee hit. Bang! Jin Tao covered his stomach and fell down. The referee took a look and raised his hand. Lu Qing wins the 10th round. At some point in time, Road to the Arena had also stood up from his seat and muttered to himself, "What kind of freak is this?" Zheng shouted and applauded wildly. In the end, he said to his two companions, "Am I right? The real dark horse. Wonderful. Really wonderful. But I didn't understand a lot of things because there was no commentary." His companions also shouted. The young couple stood up and applauded. They said to their classmates, "See? This is the mysterious Master Lu Qing we were talking about." The arena tournament this time was really exciting. Their classmates praised one after another. The spectators who witnessed the match were applauding for Lu Qing and the defeated Jin Tao. Jin Tao's performance was brilliant enough to contribute a classic match to the audience. Lu Yinglong, Qin Jilin and the other disciples of Baiyuan Martial Arts School were silent. They were all imagining how many rounds of brutal blizzard they could withstand if they were in Lu Cheng's place. Not to mention Lu Cheng, even if his opponent was Jin Tao, they would have no chance of winning. Finally I see his real strength. Lu Yinglong sighed again. The joy of defeating Jin Tao reverberated in Lu Cheng's heart. He couldn't wait to share it with Yan Zhika. However, Jin Tao was a friend of the forum. If he didn't do something and left, it would be awkward to meet him in the future. He reached out and pulled Jin Tao up. He smiled and said, "Thank you." In the last knee hit, he didn't use the lightning and fire stance or mega avalanche. Instead, he used his real strength to make Jin Tao lose his ability to fight due to the pain. Because of this, the referee didn't stop him. Of course, if he was wrong, Jin Tao could still fight. Lu Cheng was also cautious. If the match continued, he would still lose. After this hearty battle, Lu Cheng's estimation of his strength was more accurate. Because he hadn't practiced martial arts for a long time, he still had shortcomings in strength and agility. After mastering the 24 blizzard strikes, Lu Cheng had the strength of an amateur second or third pin. With the physical strength provided by the Jin Dan, Lu Cheng had the strength of an amateur first pin. Of course, the strength of an amateur second or third pin referred to him now, not the hothead who had just arrived at Yanling. During this time, he had improved with every battle. A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes. Jin Tao rubbed his stomach, tears of pain appearing in the corner of his eyes. He stood up with the help of Lu Cheng's hand and said, "You are really a contradictory opponent. Sometimes, I feel that the strength of your punches and kicks is not enough, and your footwork is not agile enough. You are weaker than me. Sometimes, I feel that you are unfathomable. You can actually detect my tiger tail kick in advance and launch crazy attacks again and again." Lu Cheng smiled and didn't say anything. He didn't know what to say and didn't want to reveal his identity at this time. He'd better check the forum and see what other people would say. Why am I full of expectations? Why am I so happy? Lu Cheng. On the stand, with the referee's announcement, many spectators who had witnessed the battle remembered this name. Road to the arena, Zhou Yuaning didn't have time to broadcast on the forum. He came down to support Jin Tao and comforted him. "This Lu Cheng is very strong. He has mastered the 24 blizzard strikes of the ice sect. In other words, it was normal to lose to him." Invincible punch, Jin Tao sighed and said, "He is indeed very strong, but I think it's more appropriate to describe him with another word." "What word?" Road to the arena, Zhou Yuaning asked curiously. The scene just now flashed in Jin Tao's mind. Round after round of crazy snowstorm-like attacks, the punches and kicks that didn't show any fatigue, the breathing that was still balanced even after the extreme outbreak. He took a deep breath and said with a little fear, "Monster. P.S. Since you asked for an early update, you're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."